Block Ram 313 back at it again. Why? Because you know this is Therapeutic Man. Back again with another therapy session. Block Ram 313 back at it again. Why? Because you know this is Therapeutic Man. Back again with another therapy session.
The kosher clinician.
Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down to ride, you weren't down to ride. Caught switching, you were picking sides. Don't blink, caught slipping like a slip and slide. I was shooting dice till I got a nosebleed. Money on the floor, can't get cold feet. Took an L, should've put it in the offering. Lord, forgive me for my sins, don't know of me. Scary thoughts, I got scary thoughts. Lost control, now I'm taking charge. Breaking bills, friends breaking off. You could be the youngest, I'm the dawn. Kiss the ring, nah. In the scene like GOT. Stay awake, don't sleep. Like Jon Snow, get R.I.P. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. Just me, myself, and I'm my favorite threesome. The cars I drive by, I never lease them. They say if you can't beat them, then you join them. That's no option, I don't join, I always beat them. I was fake, you had to find me. Now I'm on beat, skating like I'm grinding. L hit me, said it's all about the timing. If you want the vision, get to spinning. My mama told me trust in God, it's never limits. Now I'm on the scoreboard, running up the digits. I put in work, you know I'm up to get it. Early bird gets the worm and the Yankee fitted. Like whoa, bags under my eyes and you know. Won't complain, I'm tired, I'm on go. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. I was starving, now I'm eating till my belly full. From up north, we get cold, you need a heavy coat. Scared to end up on the shirt before a centerfold. Devil on my back, target on me, deadly too. Play for keys, don't tweet. It's not peace, don't speak. 24, no sleep. This is real, no tweet. My bros for life, can't break this late. Family on my side, baby stay around me. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving convo, better know you'll need a check from me. Can pay to play, the sun is still won't get a cent from me. I mix the fit up with the side like it's a remedy. I mix it up inside the pot, watch it drip while it drop. Time to take it to the top. Chips all in the middle like it fall, no I won't flop. We gon' pop like a soda can top. To me this is nothing, call my bluff and I won't stop when I flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best. By any means, that's a triple threat. Yeah, this is getting bigger, I might flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I hit record a drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets. When I'm performing, never boring, now you can't afford it. Champagne Perrier, finished friends on my face. Looking like I'm from the deep, these no Cartiers. Pockets deep, bro. I can make it in my seat, bro. Do you, I'm doing me, bro. Making noise, use a beat, bro. Whoa. I press the button and the doors go off like that money clip us now, the new now looks like upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like neighborhood on the scene, neighborhood on the strip, neighborhood be the name, neighborhood no crib, neighborhood that's me, neighborhood that's Nick, neighborhood do the dance, neighborhood do the deal. Okay, thought I'd never make it like no way, I'm the real deal, no role play. My days off, that's no days. No, I hustle hard, young rose. E be the shooter, that's cold case. Those on the deals, that's brose. Got no pay, don't no say. Okay, this the news, tell them read it. Been the one since the fetus. Don't sleep on me, Tempur-Pedic. That's a no. Spending dope for no reason. Got a ball head, Mr. Cleaner. Heard the big bags overseas, then we gon' go. I press the button and the doors go off like that money clip us now, the new now looks like upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like I press the button and the doors go off like that money clip us now, the new now looks like upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like tunnel vision when I hit the holly. Working on that cause my mind is on an island. Told my babies I'll be homeless, so don't stay up. Breaks my heart to see them sad, so I won't wait up. Need it all that's mine, I need it now. I lost my patience the same week I lost my smile. My baby pressed me, said I'm acting like a child. I took some L's, can lie, that really brought me down. I'm so antisocial, but I guess it's type selective. Swear I'll make a change, but for now I just can't help it. Only trusting God in these cards that I've been dealt with. I'ma do my job, time to grind, time to know. They know, 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 they know. Pedal to the metal, they know. Gone and I won't let up, they know. So I'm fed up, they know. Stay for the record, they know. They know, they know, they know. Yeah, they know. Pedal to the metal, they know. I'm not so I'm fed up, they know. Why you never sign? You sign when you go live. Stuck inside that bubble, never ever go outside. You don't know you know computers, you're a tech guy. Back against a wall, you gon' fall or you gon' ride. I feel the pressure, foot to the pedal. My dogs, they fed up, my squad won't let up. Those sneakers CDG, hot on step on. My money yoga, the way it stretch on. I change locations to change the weather. Know when that rain come, got my umbrella. And when my day come, my name gon' stay up. Yeah, I know. Pedal to the metal, they know. Gone and I won't let up, they know. I'm not so fed up, they know. Say it for the record, they know. They know, yeah they know. Pedal to the metal, they know. I'm not so fed up, they know.
We're about to chop up some comprehensive game in a minute. We got one of the original OGs in the house tonight, guys. We're going to have a very powerful topic as we talk about masculinity, modern women, and the famous term by Black Ram called the Communitah. Get your pens and your paper ready, guys. We're about to drop some fire for your mind as Black Ram and I explore these very dynamics that are impacting the functioning of the Black community. Let's do it.
Bringing it to you live once again from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green, where every day is Father's Day, and where manhood is part of hills and valleys, victories and failures, and whereas men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, but tonight we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate once the crisis is over. Now listen, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind. But before I drop that fire, let's explore why we are doing the Manhood Chronicles.
All right. We're about to add the talented Black Ram in the house, 313.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, sir?
I'm hanging in there, my dear brother. How you doing?
I'm lovely, man. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you on this platform tonight.
Oh, the honor is mine, dear brother. The honor is mine.
No doubt. As we talk about some of the dynamics associated with masculinity.
Yes, sir.
Modern women. And your famous quote, the Communitah. And you know, you're one of the OGs in the space, man. I consider you a Sigma. You know, you like a lone wolf.
Definitely.
Yeah. I never saw. I mean, you've always been in the shallows. You know, you got a series talking about in the shallows. I noticed. You know, it's like you're in and out. You're very mercurial. You don't fit in the box. You're like a phantom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. I like
right. You're like a phantom, man. So who is Black Ram 313? I know the Black Ram symbolize Aries. You came on my show a couple of months ago. And I think the 313 is from Chicago, Chi-Town. I'm from the 252, living in the 919 now. But who is Black Ram 313? And why are these conversations so important, Black Ram, when we live in a time when it appears to be an erosion of heteronormative masculinity?
Yeah, man. I'm just simply a guy with a very small voice. on my stoop, so to speak, on my milk carton, so to speak, just proclaiming that men should be men and masculinity looks a certain way,
Right.
and that we should have a certain view of the world. Not
Right.
necessarily that everybody have to have my view,
Yes.
but basically I come to illuminate some things, that the world isn't what it seems, and we've lost our path in so many different ways. The Communitah, I didn't coin the phrase. I got it from first person I heard it was what's the brother name? His name is
David Carroll. David Carroll.
Not David Carroll. It was another brother, but David Carroll is one of them that actually used that.
Okay.
He rest in peace. But
right.
But yeah, so Black Ram 313. I'm just a person who wants to bring some information, bring some therapy, because it's a lot of stuff that we as men need to talk about and deal with.
Yes, sir.
My favorite phrase is that there's no lying in therapy.
No
I started my channel because I started my channel because I saw a deep need for the conversations and as men to start and to take place. I got my early start by listening to guys in the MGT, the rest community, a word we can't really say on YouTube because it's a demonetized word. We don't want to do that.
Right.
And I heard a few Black voices, but I thought that it wasn't enough. Therefore, I said, you know what, let me go and get my microphone and speak my mind as well. That was 9 years ago.
9 years ago, right?
And I've been doing that ever since.
And I've been following you, man, off and on extensively. Your classic for me, I know different ones had different classics, but it was a Strumpet's Tale.
Oh man.
And
short stories.
The short stories, man. And it was so unorthodox to the point, Black Ram, that with the Strumpet's Tale, it just hit me and so many men in a different way, because we always knew that there was a mirage associated with some women. But when you get to the core of it, you get a conniption, and that conniption can lead to red pill rage if you're not careful.
Absolutely.
And when you see it, this whole illusion called love, man, it would destroy you as a man if you don't understand how to circumnavigate around it. One of the things I've always said in the past, Black Ram, I've always said never fall in love. You can love within reason, but you should never fall, because fall is synonymous to a literal fall, because at that point or that nexus in your life, Black Ram, you will have your inner sanctum as a man violated. You and I agree on more things that we disagree on. And I love you as a brother. You're a good brother, and I know you believe in the Hebrew faith. And I sort of tie it into Judeo-Christian when I talk about the kosher clinician, because I believe, Black Ram, succinctly, as a licensed therapist, if it ain't 7, as a skava, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, Black Ram, it ain't right. And so in Hebrew, kosher means to be fit and proper. And there's a lot of dysfunction in the Black community, Black Ram, because there was a time when men knew what fit and proper was.
Yes.
But you see, Black Ram, we live in this current milieu where men don't understand what's fit and proper. And when we try to bring forth the blessings of righteousness as it relates to masculinity, there are those, Black Ram, that will stop us from blowing the shofar. What's your take on that, brother?
Oh, I love that at the beginning, the blowing of the shofar. That was a beautiful thing.
No doubt. I really even like that, no doubt.
Yeah, I really enjoy seeing it. And you're right. If it ain't kosher, it isn't right. I just believe that there is a way to be, right? As a man, a way to carry yourself as a man. I did a video called a classic. I don't call it a classic, but everybody else does. And that video was called Uncompromising Principles of Manhood, which is things that I wish I would have learned growing up. Although I had my father with me, growing up, there were still things that he didn't know of that wasn't imparted to him. Things that I picked up just through my trials and tribulations and on my journey. I picked up a lot of manhood stuff from the Nation of Islam that I was almost a part of, almost, but I didn't fully join. So I picked up a lot of things on the way that I wanted to share. And I said, if I was if a young man was able to hear this, it may change the trajectory of his life. And also you mentioned
I think you're frozen, Ram.
Oh.
I think you're frozen. In the meantime, Ram appears to be frozen, but in the meantime, guys, we're gonna have this conversation. Yeah, you're back, Ram. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was
it's a lag on your end, dog.
Oh, I don't know what that could be. Let me.
I think it's a lag. Hold tight.
Okay.
Hold tight.
Turn my Wi-Fi.
I think it's a lag. Hold tight.
Okay.
Well, in the meantime, guys, get the likes up, share the content. Go check out Black Ram 313, guys, as we continue to drop some fire for your mind. It appears to be a lag. I don't know if it's me or Black Ram.
Yeah, it looks like my connections. It looked like the
Black
connection.
Ram, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't look, you frozen on my end, but keep talking.
You know what? Everybody
okay.
in the
Go
chat
ahead,
is saying that there's no lag. It might be on your end because people in the chat are saying that everything is good.
Okay, good. As long as they can see me and you, don't worry about it. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So when I did the short story of Strumpet's Tale, I wanted to just show a different angle because we like to in the community really beat down the BW, and I wanted to show that her state of mind is conditioned just like Thuggo's state of mind is conditioned, because it's not a genetic thing. You take those same genetics and put them somewhere else,
right?
Then you'll get a different result. So we all have been conditioned in this country to behave and treat each other a certain way. Now, I understand that there are choices that people make. However, the conditioning is still there.
Yes.
So in Trumpet's Tale, I want to show that a lot of times these women get these things from their mother, who teach them to be HOs. Give an example of the mother teaching them to be HOs. We know the old saying. Everybody's heard it. Grandma said it. Mama said it. Even great grandmama said it. As long as you have a P between your thighs, you should never be what? Broke, right?
Broke. Right.
Now, notice it's not saying as long as you got a P between your thighs, you should have a husband to follow.
Right.
A man to be with.
Right.
A man to serve.
Right.
No.
Right.
Said you should never be broke because of what you have between the thighs. Big Mama taught this, right? So that's part of the conditioning because it's inbred in the culture.
Right. It's inbred in the culture, right?
Absolutely. So I just wanted to show that the conditioning is real and it is there and it has taken place. And this is some of the reasons for our dysfunction. It could be a lot of reasons, but this is one of the reasons. Now you're frozen and lagging behind now, Kosher.
Well, yeah, just keep talking. I don't know what's going on, man.
Okay,
I don't know why. I can see you, but just keep talking. I don't know what's going on.
So the state of mind, needs to be changed from us,
right?
Because we can't deal with her because she has her own set of problems, her own set of issues, but we're going to work on us.
Right.
Most of them are not going to listen to us. I mean, except people like China White, of course, in the chat. My niece. Absolutely.
Oh, that's your niece.
Oh yeah, my niece China White. Shout out to her.
Cool. Shout out to her.
Absolutely.
Sister.
Absolutely. She got a great channel over there, so people should definitely check her out. Much love to my niece China White.
No doubt.
Yeah, so that was the goal with A Strumpet's Tale, to show that these things are conditioned. So I wanted to bring back a clear idea of what masculinity and manhood was, because a lot of us lost it because of thuggo culture.
Right.
And that thuggo culture has ruined us as men to think this bastardized version of hyper masculinity is true masculinity.
Right.
I have to show you that I'm tough, or I'm gonna get you for stepping on my shoes, or all of the other stuff that's been going on in our community since the 80s and the 90s, and of course all throughout the 2000s. We've kind of lost track of what it means to be a man. And of course there's the narrative where both black men and women share in this narrative that pretty much if you're not thugged out, you're not masculine.
Right.
If you're thugged out, you're not a real man. So the idea was to challenge those beliefs and those ideas and that type of culture with A Strumpet's Tale, A Simp's Tale, and uncompromising manhood principles. That was the whole point of that, to show, hey, masculinity has a different face than what's being shown to you on television, through the media, through the European power structure.
No doubt, no doubt. Shout out to my man, a man supporting men, for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, brother. Now listen, guys, get the likes up. Black Ram is what I call him the OGs of the OGs. He's been around for as long as some of the big name YouTubers. I don't think he get his proper credit, but he's not clout chasing. He's just more or less giving a message. And one thing that's always been impressive about me concerning Black Ram, he saw my inherent worth as a content creator. He reached out to me in the past, and he's not like some of these other guys. If you don't have enough subs, I can't associate, which is goofy. Because
I've heard that too. Isn't that Amazing.
Right. You know, I thought we were all about men supporting men because, you know, whenever I grow and get to a certain epigenesis or a certain threshold, I don't care if you got 100 subs, as long as you're a good person and you got a good message.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm gonna chop it up with you, you know, but we begin to see an attack on heteronormative masculinity. Black Ram, when did this attack start? And before you answer the question, to the 44 people that are watching, please share this show. There are young men, guys, that need help. There are young men that are suffering in silence. We just heard on the news about Frank James recently. We're going to talk about that. But so many men are suffering in silence to the point nobody cares about their consternation, their points of need, their points of contention. So, guys, share this content. If you have not got the have not donated, donate to the channel. Donate to Cash App $7 Smalls. Because Black Ram, you know, and I know that content creation is very time consuming.
Absolutely.
I'm a licensed therapist. I'm not a fake. I'm not a quack. I went to the greatest state. I went to one of the best schools in the country, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, North Carolina Central. I got my associate degree in law enforcement. So I didn't start advocating Black Ram when I got on YouTube. I've been advocating for young men and men in general, basically my whole life. But just like you, nobody was talking about a Black Ram from a clinical perspective. We always minimize the efficacy of therapy because we don't understand the importance. But like you said, it's therapeutic, man. And it is very therapeutic. It's very therapeutic when men come together, synonymous to the teachings of the gospel. Oh, how good it is for the brethren to dwell together in unity, where it's from a pure place and a pure heart. You know, in clinical therapy, Black Ram, we call it the universality of brotherhood, where men come together to share their stories and their pain. One of the universalities of brotherhood is tied to group therapy. It's called sharing, where you share information. But another concept, Black Ram, is called a catharsis. That's the emoting of the pressure and the pain that many men have went through.
Yeah.
And so many men, Black Ram, have went to the grave with dreams deferred, synonymous to Langston Hughes. He said, what happens when a dream becomes deferred? So many men, Black Ram, have dreams deferred. They're in the graves right now because nobody heard them as they're crying from the grave site. You can hear the echoes from the grave, Black Ram, and the darkness of the night. They are crying. And right now they're waiting till the resurrection to tell their story. But, you know, nobody was there to hear them, you know, and synonymous to what Michael Jackson said, they don't really care about us. Right. Is there an attack on heteronormative masculinity, Black Ram, and why no one cares in your opinion?
Absolutely. And that's been attacked for a long time. And I can only really speak to Black masculinity because that's what I am. I'm a Black masculine male. Of course, we know that up from slavery, but I'm not going to talk about ancient, well, not even say ancient history, but I'm not going to talk about the historical part too much. I'm going to go into recent history. But of course, we know that it has been a plot to destroy the masculinity of the Black man ever since we got over here in this country and chattel slavery. And we've seen it over and over again. And of course, films like Mandingo and Roots document that, as well as, you know, other brothers who've done series on that as far as our scholars. So that's very well documented. But I noticed a shift in masculinity that comes to this hyper sense of masculinity. I think that started, I want to, and I have to just be honest, man, it started with the West Coast rap. Because me as a fan of West Coast rap, I grew up listening to NWA. I grew up listening to Ice-T. So when that hardcore gangster rap came on the scene, now don't get me wrong, that type of lifestyle was already there, but now it's seen nationally and it was praised, and made to be one of those things to strive for. You know, as I grew up, I wanted to be more and more gangster. I didn't want to be like the guy next door who was a plumber, and an electrician. I wanted to be like, you know, little Spoonie down the street who had a bunch of girls in a pocket full of the, you know what, you know, because that was the person who got the attention, who got the girls, who had the cars, who had the money, who had the clothes. And little skinny down the street was the one that could fight, that everybody was scared of. You know, so that's what I wanted to be growing up, you know, and that's what, for a while, that's what I became. I don't talk about it much because I don't think that it's anything to brag about, but there was a time in my life where, you know, I dealt with an organization that was not, how can I say, a friendly organization to say, at least, you know, but that was probably part of my trials and tribulations and my learning experience. So I was heavily involved with that for a moment until I got up out of that. Most High graced me with that. So I saw this hyper masculinity begin, and I saw that this hyper masculinity, brother, was actually femininity. That the masculinity went so far that it went all the way feminine. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, break it down.
Men, and don't get me wrong, I got an earring in my ear, but men started to wear earrings in both ears. Well, we used to see little girls do that. It was for a time back in the 90s where men wore beads in their hair, and now that's coming out. I think this is some guy, I forgot his name, but he wears beads in his hair. It was a time that only women colored their hair. Well, look at any rapper with dreadlocks, his hair is going to be colored. So we're taking more and more women's fashion and women's style. And then the worst thing that I've ever seen, Brother Kosher, the worst thing I've ever seen. Now, when I was growing up, we did wear our pants baggy. I'm not saying that was a good thing.
Right.
Like you keep a dump in your pants.
Right.
But wearing the skinny jeans and then wearing the skinny jeans off of your waist, where you can see another man's cheeks through, and I mean, you see his underwear and his cheeks, and sometimes you can see the crack of his backside. So these men are all the way on the feminine side because there is no need for a man to show his backside. Now, I'm not saying that women should show it. Not saying that. I'm not saying women should show it. But it's more understanding. It's more understanding if a woman wants to show her backside because she's trying to advertise. But if you're a real male that's hetero, well, what are you advertising?
Right, right.
You know, so the masculinity has gone from hyper masculinity to a form of femininity that we've never seen before. And here's the thing, here's the funny part. I grew up as a teenager in the 90s, born in the late 70s,
right?
Teenager in the 90s, child in the 80s, right?
Right.
I remember in the 80s where tighter pants were the rule of the day. Okay. That fashion trend ended. And then next thing you know, we had baggy pants. So it went from, I'll take that back. It went from more tighter fitting clothes to more what they call straight legged. That still was a little loose, but they weren't tight. And then it went all the way down to, then it went to baggy pants. Crisscross, we wore our pants backwards sometimes. But the baggy jeans, oversized clothes, now the tight clothes, right? Now these trends change pretty much every decade. But this trend of wearing your pants off your butt, that's been around almost 20 years now. Now think about it. All these trends come and go. So when is it going to be the time where wearing your pants below your butt is no longer fashionable?
Right.
I'm saying to you that it's been fashionable so long that it's outlasted and outlived any other fashion trend that I've ever seen in my life.
Right, right. And, you know, it appears that it's something nefarious is going on. We'll talk about it in code. Shout out to my man, a man supporting men. He said this, why most black men evolve in their free thinking, but the B-dubs don't? How would you like to answer that, Black Ram?
We're real easy. When it comes to that, and appreciate you, my brother MPI. He's always on my show, always supporting. Appreciate you supporting my brother here on this platform. I think it's real easy. I don't think we should ask so much of the opposite gender because who she is and who she's supposed to be is pretty much a reflection of A, her man in her life, or B, a reflection of the culture.
Right.
So they haven't evolved in their thinking because thinking men are not their men, and their ideas are lockstep with the current cultural climate here in America, which is dysfunctional, which is unnatural. That's the climate that we now see here in America. Right. So why haven't they evolved in their thinking? I really don't think many of them have the capacity without being led by a man. And there's not enough thinking men here. And not only is not enough thinking men here, there's not enough women who would choose a thinking man. So their evolution will be far, far, far behind, light years behind us, because I've never seen it. I'm not saying it's impossible. I've never seen a woman come into any great body of knowledge without a man showing her the way.
Right. And, you know, many don't understand, Black Ram, that men and women are complements of one another. I've always said in the past that men and women, when she was optimized to be synchronized with a man. And so when men and women are both operating in optimization as it relates to masculinity and femininity, they're at their greatest level of synchronicity. But there appears not to be synchronicity in this current milieu called America, there appears to be a lot of disjointed thought and a lot of disjointed minds. And that when men like yourself and myself come to more or less break the fragmentation or the cognitive dissonance, always met Black Ram with ill repute.
Yeah.
And that ill repute, Black Ram, it's going to do a lot on the psyche of so many, because you will now see the writing on the wall. And we'll talk about that at some point later in the show. You talk a lot about the esoteric. As I said, I grew up in the church. I know about prophecy. I may not live it like I used to in my 20s, but I do know about it and understand it. And you see what's taking form. This what I call the zeitgeist, the spirit of this age, and it's beginning to permeate very rapidly. And you appear to see it, but so many don't see it. And see, what people don't understand, Black Ram, these platforms are good to use, but there may come a time, Black Ram, where the kosher clinician nor Black Ram will exist because of the social credit system. And only those, right, and only those that go along to get along, it's going to be with a price. Absolutely. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking in code, but you know what I'm talking about. But in the meantime, shout out to my man, I can't think of his name. That's my man, Andrew Baker. Let me click on him. Shout out to Andrew Baker. Andrew Baker said, salute to Kosher and Black Ram. I know this show is going to be fire with you two wise men. Yes, the Communitah is done, and most or many of our women killed it. And that is a deal, right? Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Andrew Baker. That's a deal, right? And, I'm going to give you evidence, Black Ram, to what, Andrew Baker said is true. Yeah, I have to be very careful in what I say, because, we live in a time where people are extremely sensitive, and when you start having these conversations, folks get into feelings, and I'm not here to attack anybody. We know, Black Ram, that there's a remnant of good women that's left. Yes, and there's a remnant, but there's a remnant, and there are a lot of uncovered. There's not a lot, but there's a percentage of uncovered gems. Black Ram, I asked a couple of people in the past, a couple of brothers on the panel, what percentage of women do you feel are wife ready and or wife worthy? What would you juxtapose the percentage from your own subjective anecdotal experience? This is your own subjective.
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question.
Right.
I used to think that I had high standards, but I realized I have normal standards. So I'm going to go with what's ideal, and then I'm going to go with what's practical.
Right.
Because what we have to differentiate oftentimes is what things should be versus how things are. Sometimes we mix the two together in conversation. Mm-hmm. So I want to categorize this and divide it just for understanding. So the way things should be, I'm going to preface it by saying that the way things should be is that you have a humble, submissive wife who's in shape, ready to be led, mm-hmm. a virgin, mm-hmm. Knows that her place in life is to serve her man.
Right.
That's the ideal. Mm-hmm. But if I want to be a little bit more practical and adjust this for today's society, it's still impractical, but I'm going to try to be as practical as I can. So how about this? A wife would be, and I'm going to give the percentage in a minute. A wife would be a woman with low to no body count, mm-hmm. who's also humble and submissive, mm-hmm. Knows her place as a woman is to serve her man. Keyword, her place is to serve. Why? Because she was created for that very reason.
Right. That's what the Gospels say. A lot of people get mad, and they say, oh, it's, but what women don't understand, Black Ram, that relationships are duality. Just like she was made to serve him, he was also made to protect her. And, mm-hmm. Just like she's made to serve him, she gets rewarded in the end. Men, love your wives as Christ loved the church. So guess what? That means that a man could be a bullet bag. That means that when somebody the intruder break in the home, he's expected to give his life.
Yeah, it's natural. Absolutely.
It's natural. It's very natural, right? And so why is that so much consternation? And I know why, but anyway, give the percentage, Black Ram, after you finish talking.
If I had to give a percentage, I would say 0.005%. Less than 1%.
Oh wow.
Yeah, less than 1%. Now, out of millions of women, well, let's just leave it to this country, and let's leave it to the so-called African American. I think the population of African Americans is about 14 million. So let's just say, just for the sake of conversation, let's say 6 million are women. That would probably leave you with about possibly maybe 10,000 women maybe. So yeah, I'm saying that maybe 10,000 women in America of a marriageable age who are not married are probably wife material. Maybe 10,000 out of 6 million. And listen, I think that's being extremely optimistic. Honestly.
Right.
And the reason why I say this is that today's women have lost sight of everything that's natural. Everything that's natural. Just give you a couple of examples. It shouldn't be an argument that a woman should be submissive to a man because nature tells you that, right? It's obvious.
Right.
It should be natural for a woman to want to have a family. But what we hear is women talking about being pregnant, but never talk about being having husbands.
Right.
They say they want a baby, but they never say that they want a husband. So we're unnatural. She's unnatural. So since she's unnatural, and most of them are, majority, 99.9%, most women are unmarriageable, undateable, and just impossible to deal with. In fact, men who have any sort of spiritual wisdom will probably stay away from the modern woman for the most part because she is so, how can I say it, demonic, really. And of course, I know that we on your channel, so I'm not going to be explicit. We speak in code over here,
right?
And the reason why she knows she's demonic is because she will take the embryo and do away with it, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, right?
And we know that this is done by the millions. Now, here's the thing: when we talk about these things, when we say that the B-dub is to blame for most of our ills, not all our ills, I'm not gonna say all, but most of our ills. For me, that's case in point. That the community will be 50 million plus if it wasn't for her serial KIL, the rest spree within her own body. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing we know is that she pretty much adamantly speaks against real relationships. And this is why it's the problem. As I've said this before, it bears repeating. Out of two people, husband and wife, comes a family. Out of the family comes a community. Out of the community comes a nation. So the base is always man and woman.
That's always the base. If you don't
have your foundation and your base right, then you can't expect anything to come up from that foundation.
Right.
Except whatever foundation is laid, which is wickedness and crookedness.
Right.
So the reason why I say the B-dub is majority to blame, and we have blame in that too, is because she's the one who said, you know what, instead of having a family, I'll take a check. Now, I don't think it's necessarily fair to expect her to be as, how can I say it, as loyal, race loyal as we are. But she did get a check, brother. She get a check and say, it was called a welfare check back in the 60s, and it continued in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and 2000s. She got a check to say, hey, kick dude out the house. You don't need him. The government got you.
Right.
And and even today, she's the only, woman on the planet who constantly says, I don't need a man. The Snow Bunny doesn't say that. And even when she does, it's only a small segment and they're lying.
Right.
I'm going to say this again. When the Snow Bunny says it, it's only a small segment. Where I live at in the suburbs and even in the city, the Snow Bunny got her husband.
Right.
Maria has her husband.
Right.
Mei Ling has her husband.
Right.
But the B-dub say, no, I might want a baby, but I don't want you. I'll monkey dance and I'll ride the carousel. I'll be with this guy and that guy, but I don't want a husband. I don't want to settle down.
Right.
That's why she's the least married and stays married the least. And again, the reason why I say it's not all her fault, fellas, and I need y'all to hear me because this is Black Ram. Y'all know how I talk. The reason why I say it's not all her fault is because the powers that be gave her the power to make these choices. Now, I don't talk like this a lot,
right?
But I am extremely patriarchal. and I'm extremely nationalistic. So much so, I can only talk about these things with a handful of people. And I say extreme, I say extreme. Again, we separate what should be to how things are. It should be where we're in our own land, in our own nation, and then the ladies in our nation don't have a choice. Arranged marriages. Think about how that would knock out all of our societal ills. You get one wise brother, right, who wants a wife, and you get the elders of the community to say, hey, Mr. Kosher Clinician, can I have your daughter to wife? And then what you would do, brother Kosher Clinician, is you won't talk to me right away. You will talk to my father, right? So let's just make it more real, right? Because we're kind of close in age, Kosher. So my son comes to you wanting your daughter, and then you come and consult with me. We talk it out, and then you consult with my son. You vet us and say, yeah, you know what? You can take my daughter. And the vetting process goes two ways. I know Kosher, he's a stand-up man. He taught his daughter. His wife taught his daughter. I taught my son. That's how you make a family. Right.
None
of that she get to choose. No. She don't get to choose. Because you see what happened when you give them choices. Right. Again, I'm super patriarchal and super nationalistic. So in our land, we would have that ability to make that call. And it won't be anything, won't be a such thing called hypergamy. Won't be a such thing as the black pill, looks, money, and status. Because I don't care. I'm looking as a man, I'm looking at another man's character. I'm not looking at his height. I'm not looking at his looks. I'm making the choice, right? So her talking about he got to be tall, dark, handsome, got this, got that. No, that's out of the window. That's out the window. That's something that's a non-issue. Right. In a true patriarchal nationalistic society. Right. So the reason why I can't blame them all is because we haven't produced that society. Right. Now, if we produce that society and there were ladies there who didn't want to meet that standard, then you would simply do away with them. And I mean, do away with them in the strictest terms. I understand the platform. I'm just talking about ideally, because certain things we can't say because we are on Mr. Charlie's platform called The Tube. So that's how it should be, right? So now we have to look at ourselves and say, well, we don't have the proper society. We don't have the proper community. We don't have the proper tools to accomplish these things because we're headed by another group of people. Right. So we can't blame everything on her, although she did make that choice. And we expect her to come to a state of mind where she can actually come into a right state of mind. Well, that's not going to be possible without your, how can I say it, your power and your strength as a structure. So as long as we don't have that structure, the most we can do is complain. When we develop that structure, if we ever do, then there's no more complaining. We're just going to do. I'll let you get that super chat from my brother.
Right. Yeah, thank you, brother.
A lot of my brothers came over here.
No doubt. I appreciate it. Thank you. Shout out to Stefan Melijo for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, brother. He said, peace to the brotherhood, supreme development and masculinity. We were wise. Thank you for having this program. And you know, Black Ram, you said something that was very powerful about, and I agree with you 1,000,000% because I grew up in church. I grew up in Pentecostal church. The Pentecostal churches were more closer to Orthodox back in the day. You know, they were very close to the Nation of Islam. Maybe different in ideology and also different in theology, but in form they were very close to Judeo. You know, they were very intact. You know, the women wore dresses and it was very conservative. Yes,
and that looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Right.
When you see the NOI women, although I'm no Muslim and I'm not in the nation, you have to give them credit. Their women look appropriate. Their women look the way a woman should.
They're very regimented. And you know, Black Ram now, according to some studies, 30% of men are virgins. And you know, with 30% of men being virgins, and you know, if you agree with theology, you know, that was the exchange that was given to men back in the past. Fair exchange in the past was virgin, wife ready, wife worthy, and no kids. That was the standard. That was the gold standard back in the past, Black Ram. But now the standards have dropped so low that these 30% of men that are virgins, what are they going to get? What are they going to get for, you know, being castigated? And we know some of these guys are socially awkward, not all of them. But some of them are socially awkward. Some of them don't know how to talk. But a lot of the Black Ram is due natural selection, where they've been more or less castigated to the side because hypergamy is on overdrive. Now, I'm 6'5".
Absolutely.
I'm 6'5", 6'6" with shoes on. I'm a big dude, man. 6'6". You know, I meet the metrics of what a lot of women will want if I was a single man.
But at the same time, you're extremely rare.
I am.
Your average guy is nowhere near 6'6". I'm 5'8".
5'8". That's average height.
Average height. And when I was growing up, Kosher, I was considered average height, but now they consider 5'8" to be short.
No, that's not short.
I know, but it's funny to me now. You know what I mean? But it doesn't really matter to me because the only women that really make a big fuss about that is American women, and more likely than not is the BW. I know for sure that I can go to other countries and that won't be a problem.
Won't be a problem at all, right?
Because I don't have the problem. She has a problem. But the funny thing with that, Coach, I'm glad you brought that up, is that's part of the problem where we can actually blame the BW. And the reason why I say that is because there's less than 16% of men on planet Earth, not just America, not just the melanated, not just the European, less than 16% of men on Earth are over 6 feet tall.
Right.
Less than.
So
when she says, which is 95%, no, 99% of women want a man that's above 6 feet tall.
Right.
So what they have effectively done is shrunk their dating pool down to not necessarily 16% because there are other factors. You want a man that's actually sane. You want a man that's actually healthy. You want a man that's actually employed or have some sort of means to himself. You want a man that's not incarcerated. You don't want a man that's bent wrist. Right. So we can remove about 4 or 5% when you deal with all these other factors from that 16%. Now you're left with about 12%. And then out of that 12%, you have to meet those guys, and those guys will have to want you too. So she's so delusional that it's laughable. But at the same time, Brother Culture, is not laughable because these women, this is the reason why you're not procreating with good men. This is why you're not, making good wives. And then these women have been so conditioned and socialized in such a weird way that they'll say, well, it's not my fault if I'm not attracted to most of these guys because of their height. And this is conditioning because, Brother Culture, you and I are both above 40, right?
Right.
We both can remember a time when height didn't matter.
We can remember
I remember a time when it was lighter skinned, curly hair,
right,
and light colored eyes. You were in.
Right.
Height didn't matter at all.
Height didn't matter at
Not
all.
one bit. Now, women have always claimed tall, dark, and handsome, but the idea of tall varied, right?
Right.
And when she said tall, what she meant was above her. She didn't mean she's 4'9" or 5'1" and you're 6'6". That's not what it meant.
Right.
And men are naturally taller. Most men are naturally taller than women. That's all it meant, Brother Clinician. That's all it meant.
Right.
And it went from that to being dark skinned.
Right.
Now dark skin don't matter anymore. It's all height now.
It's all height, right? Because I remember, the light skinned brother was in the late '80s with Al B. Shore and
Keith Washington.
The barge, with the good hair. But then came, Tay Diggs and Morris Chestnut and Wesley Snipes. So Black Brother, the dark skin, the Chocolate Brothers were celebrated. We were singing that old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. We were singing free at last with Dr. King, man. Now listen, guys, there's 96 people that are watching. I love you guys. Thank you for the support of me and Black Ram. Get the likes up, guys. Share this content. It takes me hours, guys, to put this stuff together. I mean, when I say hours. I've been working on this content probably for about 3 or 4 hours a day. And so if you guys love what I'm doing, if you love what Black Ram is doing, go check out Black Ram's channel, but also donate to the channel. Because see, I take a risk as a licensed therapist doing this to some degree. I'm not trying to be caustic, but I take a risk because, what I'm talking about, it's not kosher. It's not fit and proper, and people don't want to hear it. And so when Black Ram and I attempt to blow the shofar, when we attempt to more or less give clarity to understanding masculinity, how men should evolve, then many times it's met with a lot of consternation. So please share the content. If you don't have any money, share the content. But if you do have money, support the channel, support the stream, because I love helping you young men and women, because Black Ram, there are also women that are trying to grow and learn.
Absolutely.
And shout out to those women, the Shalakemia Moffats, the Chantel Simones, and a few other sisters that actually come into these platforms to support it. Because, a lot of women, Black Ram, are trying to uncover to recover. I said percentage, not a lot, but a percentage of women are trying to uncover so that they can recover and so that they can put themselves in a position, Black Ram, to get the covering of a very righteous man.
Absolutely.
But back to point, Black Ram. How did you escape the maze of deception of the current world we live in? How did you escape that maze of deception about this nebulous concept called love? How did you escape the maze of Black Ram?
That is a great point. Great point. Great question. Let me just finish up what I was saying about
yes, sir. Go ahead. I apologize.
Light skin, dark. No problem. The light skin and dark skin. I wanted to use that as an example of the conditioning that we see with women. Whatever the media makes popular, that's what she's going to go after.
Right.
So I have to say it this way. It may sound brutal. I know we got ladies watching. There's no disrespect, but she doesn't have a mind of her own. She's going to go wherever society leads her mind. That's where she's going to go. The greatest society. So when society said light skin, when society showed light skin on television, on that box, what we call a television, she's susceptible to all influences, right?
Right.
And wherever the power source is, whoever is the dominant in the society, that's where she's going to go. So the media said, hey, light skin. And they put these images of light-skinned brothers in front of us. That's who she liked. Then they changed and put dark-skinned brothers in front. Now they're putting tall brothers in front. So now that's popular. And that's all it is.
Right.
And this is not a bad thing. This is not a bad thing. Your woman is supposed to reflect your society, whatever society that may be, good or bad, because that's who she is. That's who she was made to be. She wasn't made to have her own mind. I'm going to say that again. She was not made and created to have her own mind. I mean, if you believe the Adam and Eve story, you named her. You know what I mean? She wasn't created to have her own mind. She was created to have your mind. And the mind she's going to take is whatever is dominant in that society. Whatever mindset is dominant in society, that's the mindset she's going to take. Now, you ask, how did I escape pretty much the matrix? As far as, I would say, I guess, being victimized by love to a degree, if that's the question. Basically, how did I come into this form of thought to where I can see the misfortune of relationships, how I could see the imbalance of the relationship. It came through a lot of heartbreak. I talk sometimes on my videos that I'm the king of heartbreak. And I'm a particular type of guy, Kosher. And there's some guys like this, but not a lot of guys like this. I'm a particular type of guy. Right. A lot of men are happy, and this is no disrespect to these men. To each his own. I'm just expressing who I am because you asked the question.
Right.
A lot of men have no problem with monogamy. A lot of men, they love a particular woman. But I've always been the man who loved women. And I'm not talking about just in a physical way.
Right.
I love a woman's voice. I love a woman's touch. I love a woman's, and I'm gonna say this, natural smell, not perfumed and soaped up. I love a woman who doesn't have soap and perfumes on. She has a natural smell that I've always liked.
Right.
A woman smells like a woman. You feel me? So I like her feet. I like a woman's hair. I mean, I like everything about a woman. And I've always adored women, not in I'm the man, I'm gonna beat on you type of way, just adoration because of their beauty and their grace, right? So I've never ever wanted just one. I've always wanted multiple. That's who I am as a person. I had to realize that my sexuality is hetero and polygynous.
I respect
two
that.
parts, right? So having said that, I've dealt with a lot of women in my lifetime, and I've dealt with a lot of heartbreak.
Right.
All the women I've dealt with, maybe except a couple, have broken my heart.
Wow.
Over and over again.
Right.
It was going through this over and over and over again when I decided to self-reflect. So I was in high school, And I was with a woman who really deceived me. She told me a lie about everything.
Black Ram, hold on for a minute, dog. I want to cut across. Hold your point. Let me read this super chat out real quick, Black Ram. Stay on point. Shout out to a man supporting men. He said the damage was done before we were born. CKC and Black Ram, and then one more. I'm gonna get back to you. I apologize for cutting across. And then shout out to Real Talk. Real Talk. He said we're talking about the most sequestered voice in the manosphere. Ram 1 billion. Man should have Kevin Samuel subs, but we have too many hit dogs to have to holler, most of which live in squalor and can't save $1. You dig?
I agree with that.
And that's a deal, right? And you know, as I said earlier, Black Ram, you know, you are Sigma, you know, and I don't know why that popped in my head, but more like a phantom. You pop in like a UFO. You pop in, you pop out, and then you just go back and do your thing. But you stay true to your mission, and you're very respectful, man. You know, there's a lot of crazy things going on in these spaces, and you know, and I see, you know, I can see through the malarkey, and I just leave it alone. But it is what it is. But back to point. I don't want you to lose your frame of thought, and I apologize.
Yeah.
But
real quick, let's get my brother Golden's Child super chat. A lot of my brothers are coming over here.
Okay,
I thank my brother for coming over here and supporting the stream.
Okay, Golden Child, no doubt. Shout out to Golden Child for that $5 super sticker, and he said salute to the panel. Yeah, Golden Child has definitely been supporting me. You and I often know, but he have come to my chats in the past. But go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
So it was through these heartbreaks that I realized there was something wrong. So I was dealing with a woman in high school, and she lied to me about everything. And her lies were easy to see, but I loved her so much. I was so into her that I believed her lies, and her lies really hurt.
Right.
And then I started to take a look at female nature, and then started taking a closer look at her, you know, her lies, and she would dress real provocatively. And then I started seeing other women that I would deal with these same patterns. So much so, I'm like, this can't be coincidental, because you always talk to, no, that's just the one you pick. No, that's just the one you pick. Wait a minute, all of them?
Right.
All of them that I picked have the same patterns? And then what I saw is that they have the same patterns in life, period, where they have this time where they deal with Mr. Thuggo, which I was one, and then they get older, and then they want a so-called good man, and they get that good man, and they leave him and go back into the streets again, which I say that relationships are only carousel breaks. So I noticed this nature, I noticed this behavior. And then as I got older, of course, you know, and YouTube came out, and I started running to communities who would express these points, and that's how Black Realm was born. But my thoughts, my content was born out of pain and heartbreak. And I'm a different kind of guy. So I would fall for a woman easy. Now, I wouldn't do no simpish stuff like a lot of my buddies would do, which was, you know, sell the, you know, pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. I wasn't a guy who would try to get a big fancy car. I would always use my mouthpiece in my game, because I grew up around players and hustlers and PIMPs and so on and so forth. So I was taught the game early. And I would use that to bring women about, instead of doing all the other stuff that a lot of guys did, which was spend their money. But even so, out of that, I've always was the type of man who would take a real serious liking to a woman. Right. So much so that it was a problem, because for me, and I'm just being real, no line in therapy. If I meet a woman that I'm attracted to, if I meet a woman that I'm attracted to, and she shows me some attention, I'm gonna like her right away. I ain't talking about weeks and months. We talking, we vibing. She like me. I'm attracted to her. 3 days, that's my woman. 3 days,
right.
3 days, I love her.
Right, but that's an Aries trait, man. You know, because you know, Aries do that. They fall in love fast, and Aries men and Leo men love women.
That's true, bro.
I'm a Leo, and so but sometimes Black Ram that it can be good and bad. Now Aries tend to do well with Leo. Aries woman and Leo man, if you believe in, you know, they complement each other perfect, because both are very passionate, both are very outspoken. Both, you know, they can be a powerful, very powerful together, as long as she realizes who the king is, which is the Leo. But mine is that that's a typical trait of Aries. They get in relationships fast, they fall in love fast, they move fast, and Aries men love women. They love You know, I know some content creators, they're good brothers and they're Aries, and they all have the same, they love women. You know, like that guy Andrew Caldwell said, I don't like men's no more. I like women. Right. So you never found your queen. You never found that one. You never found
I don't, you know, culturally speaking, I don't believe there's a such thing as the one.
The one, right? They're types.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I believe there can be the ones.
The ones, right. I agree with that. Right.
Yeah.
I used to believe that it was that one, but I don't believe that no more. I believe that there are archetypes that more or less suit our mindset as men, but I don't believe in this so-called thing is a soulmate. I don't believe that.
What I've noticed is that every woman that I've dealt with, I was a different version of myself with that woman. Every last one. And it wasn't something that I had to think about. It wasn't something that you know, was purposeful. But each woman that I've ever dealt with, I was a different version of myself with her. And I was able to excel on one end with one versus the other. So I'll give you an example. There are women who I could be my spiritual self, who can actually receive spiritual guidance, which is the most important aspect to me. The most important thing is to take that from me. So, but there was only a handful of women in my lifetime that were able to receive me spiritually. Then you had other women that could receive me, I guess my more, how can I say it, secular ways, you know, more so the artificial, you know, maybe the joking and the laughing and my less serious side. So every woman that I've ever dealt with brought out a different aspect. I had a woman who brought out the more intellectual side and not necessarily as spiritual as another one was. So, and that was fascinating to me, that I could be a different person, but yet the same person, you know, with these women. And of course I've dealt, and this is no bragging and boasting. I mean, I've dealt with several women at the same time. I had 17 girlfriends once, and that went down to 10. And at the time for years, I had 5 women that I dealt with that all knew about each other because I believe in polygyny. But that 5 went to 4, and that 4 went to 3, and 3 went to 2, and so on and so forth. But that was my thing. I always had a love of women, and I wanted to understand them. I wanted to know them. So I went on a journey as a teenager, before Manosphere, before YouTube, all this stuff. I went on a journey to research them and understand them and study them. Now, this was before I've never read any book, none of those things. And I'm not bragging or boasting. This is why, you know, I have to proclaim sometimes that I'm the originator, because a lot of content creators have taken my content and made it theirs, which I'm fine with. Which I'm fine with. If you give me the credit.
Give you the credit, right?
Give you the credit.
Just give you the credit, right?
It doesn't bother me that a person is, you know, can make millions off the things that I've said many, many, many years ago.
Right.
You know, but just give me the credit, because you know
I totally right. I totally agree. Right.
Absolutely. And a lot of men in this space who are millionaires, they came from my school of thought, but they would never tell you that.
They would never tell you that. Right. Right. And that is so true. That is so true.
There's been many a times that I would see my whole video repeated. Now my video would get like 3,000 views, and their videos would get 350,000 views.
Right.
But they're literally repeating every talking point. And some of the talking points that I have, nobody has ever said it, because that's what I think this space is for. So I'll give you an example, Kosher. If you go to school, you get your high school diploma, your master's degree, your PhD, they're going to expect you after that to innovate something. They're going to ask you to bring a body of knowledge to your field of study, to your field of expertise. You can't just echo what other authors have said.
Right.
So the only reason why I entered this space called YouTube and the so-called ministry, the only reason why I entered this space is because I felt I had something different to add to the text, to the body of work, to the body of knowledge. And I've done that. All I ever wanted was my credit. That's all I ever wanted.
Well, listen, you see this shirt I got on, man. I'm from the South. My homeboy, there's a brother named Eric Spencer, said that, they don't believe that the fat meat is greasy. And, I didn't hear nobody saying that in the space until I started saying it. Then off and on. I know people watching stuff, but they were saying they don't believe the fat meat is greasy. And the fat meat is greasy is based on a Southern colloquialism. And yes, it came out of the South, but nobody was using the term until this guy named Eric said, and I ran with it. But true to form, people will start saying it, but they won't give you credit for it because you're a smaller channel.
Absolutely.
And they get the accolades from your creative thought. And what you're talking about, Black Ram, is something called the replication of thought. Replication of thought actually comes out of the clinical world. As Carolina is a Research One university, and it basically means to replicate. When you replicate thought, it basically means that, you study a body of research. It either replicates or you create contingent research. Normally, PhDs have to come up with their own creative work to more or less add to the brand of or the field of study that they're studying in. So that's why, Black Ram, I came up with, the unconscious simp. If you ever hear anybody talking about the unconscious simp, they got it from me. The same thing about the conscious simp, but then there's a new term, Black Ram, that I created called deaf. That's tied to cognitive dissonance, which basically means they deny the evidence. They become enraged when you present them with the evidence. They argue through ad hominem attacks where they attack the messenger instead of the message, and they fight or flee. And my latest term is called the gravy train simp. And so, the gravy train simp, Black Ram, basically means this. He thinks that modern relationships going to be like a gravy train. But the end result of gravy train simp is going to leave you just like that old hound dog in that gravy train bag. He's sitting down sad and broken down because he thought that the modern woman would give him the same benefits and the same beatitudes, Black Ram, as women of old, like your grandmom, your great-great-grandma. So they're the gravy train simps. You got a lot of boomers that are gravy train simps. I got into a debate with a guy, and we squashed and we said we were sorry. No disrespect to that brother, but I say you're a gravy train simp. You still eating cornflakes. Absolutely. But they eating something totally different now. And so we still get caught up with this nebulous concept called love, and they don't. Women love opportunistically. We love do pragmatism and reason. And so the gravy train simp will tell you, this love her and buy her a ring and buy her some flowers. They don't give a shit about that. Right. They don't give a about no flowers, man. What I've learned, Black Ram, is that women only respect they only respect strength and power. That's all they respect. If you don't come with strength and power and know how to control your loins, man, you're gonna always end up in a quagmire. And many times, Black Ram, I would say the church didn't prepare us for understanding women. We had to figure it out through pain and hurt.
Right, absolutely. And with the gravy train simp, that reminds me of course it's not the same, it's different, but I have a video that I did about 3 years back. It's called the 8 Simp Archetypes. And I talk about what I call the scavenger simp. And the scavenger simp is the guy who, how, and everybody's experienced this. If you like a girl, she likes you, you may have a friend who's going to try to talk to her too, just because she's talking to you, basically trying to get your leftovers. That's the scavenger simp. I just said that to say that in this space, we're supposed to bring our own creative energy and add to it. And again, like I said, all we want is our credit, It's a lot of things that I've added to this space. And some guys do, but it is disheartening to see people run away with the information and make millions and never give you credit.
Right.
Here go the worst part, Kosha. I can't tell you how many people have come to my channel saying I sound like somebody else. And that's an insult because I've said it first and they got it from me, but you say I sound like them.
Right. And you know what? When I was in grad school, Black Ram, we would call it plagiarism. So what it is cyber plagiarism. It's cyber plagiarism because you don't credit the source. I always do it. There's a brother I call, I know that's been on my channel called the Ingram Experience. I always say to him, he always talk about relationship capitalism. I always give the brother credit. I give my man, the Angry Man, credit. He talked about the Beano Nation, Black in name only. I give all brothers credit. Dr. T.S. Johnson, I give him his credit when he talks about the ConcuServe. I created my own term called the commodification of subjugation because I am the kosher clinician and that's fit and proper. But my point is, like I said, some of the bigger names, they won't give you credit, because they see you as less than, which is okay. Because one thing about me, Black Ram, if you mock me, I just laugh in the shallows because I'm coming for you. I might not get you when you think I'm gonna get you, but I'm coming for you, Black Ram, because of the thing with me, brother, it takes a lot of creativity to become who I am and how I've evolved. And also, Black Ram, I'm gonna get my name trademark. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. I'm gonna get a trademark because I know at some point some might try to take it, try to make it seem like it's their creative work. And so everything you see with me and my body of work, I created it. And the things I don't create, I give men credit for it because that's fit and proper. I'm not going to take people's ideas and run with it and damn, like you said, make millions and then make it seem like you're a genius, but you stole the ideas and then you damn profitable off other folks' ideas, you know, but you know, people think you're the guru. So I don't do that. I don't steal nobody's talking points. If I hear it, then, you know, I'm going to give the person credit for it. But keep talking, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that about, you know, adding to this space. So, and that's what I did. So I added to this space, and yeah, my body of work speaks for itself, and that's something I always wanted to do.
Right.
And I believe I've done that.
Right. And you know, we've always heard the word community. I thought you created it, but
no, wasn't me. See, I like to take credit for something that I haven't done. I've said it, but I haven't taken credit. I hear Coach Greg say it sometimes too. But I always thought it was you. Shout out to my man Sean Whitehorn, and it is a deal, right? He said denigration.
Right, that's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
He said that denigration of Black masculinity is also fueled by homophobic ideologies which run unchecked in the Black community. No other race places so much importance on masculine behavior. Why is this? Why is that? Why is this a Black Ram? And then it's a twofold question. Why is it what Sean Whitehorn said? But what does masculinity mean to you? And I think you talked about how trauma evolved your masculinity.
I can see where he's talking about. Like I talked about earlier, with the guys with their pants hanging off of their posterior. So I think that can be part of the fuel as well. And it's something that unnatural that I see with younger guys. They want to be around each other so much, almost abnormally. I'm like, wow, you know, don't you want to be at home with your family, with your woman? But they rather congregate together all the time. And then that whole prison culture, it's like, wow, only thing you need to do to keep me out of jail is tell me it's just a bunch of men there and no women, and I'm staying out of there. You know, it's simple to me, you know. So I guess I get his point.
Right. Shout out to Bill for the $2 super sticker. And I'm gonna ask you next question, Black Ram. Hold tight. Because I got some more things to ask you. Hold tight. Trying to run this thing and talk to you at the same time is hard. Trying to go through. But anyway, so another question: what does masculinity mean to you? And maybe you answered it. And how did trauma evolve your masculinity? And then I'm going to bring something up that's very powerful, man. And I'm going to let you see it. But what does masculinity mean to you? And maybe you said it earlier.
Yeah, great question.
What does masculinity mean to you, and how did trauma evolve your masculinity?
That's a great question. Great question, brother. First, I'll say what masculinity is not, just to illuminate. You know, the best way to tell if a dollar bill is fake is to examine it next to the real one, right? So masculinity is not height. Masculinity is not social status. And my goodness, man, masculinity and manhood has nothing to do with a dollar amount.
Right. I totally agree.
Zero.
Right.
Another thing masculinity is not, I repeat, is not about how you deal and how many women you deal with.
Right.
You've never had a woman in your life at all. That doesn't make you any less masculine than a man who has a bunch of women. I
totally agree. I agree.
So I want to say those things. So what is masculinity? If masculinity is not money, it's not looks, it's not status, it's not about the women you have, what is masculinity then? What is it? If it's none of those things, and all those things are extremely superficial, it can be taken away from you in a moment's notice, right? So I don't mark my manhood by any of those things. If I don't have a dollar in my pocket, if I don't have a woman in my life, doesn't matter. I'm still a man.
You're still a man, right?
So masculinity is marked by this thing, in my opinion, and one thing only: the principles you hold and the principles you uphold and upheld through the fire. Let me say that again. Masculinity is the principles you have and the principles you hold, no matter what, regardless of the fire and through the fire. And I'm gonna give you an example of that. That's what masculinity is. Period. You standing on your principle, being a principled man, standing for something. Regardless if you like certain people's ideologies or not, no matter what you think about them, Malcolm, Martin, a lot of our former so-called leaders were men because they stood on principles.
Right. They stood on principles. Right.
That's what makes you a man.
Right. That's a
And if you
paragon.
compromise those principles, then that's something that you're not.
Right. Right. I totally agree. Right. I totally agree. That's the paragon of masculinity. And high value, high earning men are two different things. Jesus was a high value man, in my opinion. You can be high earning, but if you don't have a level of integrity with your high earning, in my opinion, it doesn't make you a high value man. You can have there are a lot of men that are rich and they're still simps, man. They got plenty of money, but they don't understand women. They don't know how to move in silence because masculinity moves in silence.
Yeah.
And they don't even understand it because they think all they got to do is have money, and money is going to solve the social ills of dealing with women. But it's very nuanced, and it's also due anecdotal experiences and also being very masculine by nature.
Absolutely.
And all you don't know, Black Ram, you get it taught through trials and tests. Because I've always said that with the Manhood Chronicles, it's always hills and valleys, victories and failures. That's the paragon of masculinity, and that's how I became masculine. Always been very masculine at my core. Have lost jobs. I've had people set me up. And just like when you're 6'5" and masculine, I consider myself, like the alpha lion. But most true to form, most hyenas, a hyena cannot attack an alpha lion one-on-one. A hyena cannot attack a lion one-on-one. But they will attack a lion in packs. And that's what they always did with me, Black Ram. Them hyenas, they will always attack me in packs because they could never see me one-on-one. It was always a level of fear. So they would sabotage my name. They would disrespect me. Or they would go lie on me. But let me ask you this question, Black Ram. Men appear to create simps. It appears that many men are becoming simpish. Do you think it's increasing, or do you think it's men are beginning to wake up? Do you think men are beginning to wake up, or do you think men are? Yeah,
great question. Another great question. Let me say this real quick to wrap up the last thought. Masculinity also cannot be determined nor judged by a woman. Period. What this is a statement made matter of factly. Period. So a woman can't judge your masculinity, and she cannot determine your masculinity. That is impossible for a masculine man. So I just want to say that. I think simpism is on the rise, and it has been for a very long time.
Let's talk about it.
You know what I don't think a lot of men understand in this space is that all of the space has grown. I've been in this space for 9 years, and yes, it has grown. And it's a beautiful thing to see how the space has grown. I was here before there was a such thing as a super chat. I was here before YouTube had AdSense revenue, period. I'm talking about there was no ads on no video, no matter what the video was.
Right.
When I started my channel, there was no such thing as super chats or AdSense, and there was no such thing as even a live stream at the time. So I've seen this space evolve. And
right.
You would really have to do some digging to find the content that you were looking for as well. Right. Because the algorithm wasn't the algorithm that it is today, period. Right. So I have to say that. What we have to realize is that although this space has grown exponentially, this space is still extremely small.
Right.
I have to correct women over and over again. And I have corrected women over and over again, women in my life who try to say that they listen to me and judge other men by the things that I say. And I have to always tell those women, no, sweetheart, the men that you come across are not men like myself in the community that I speak for and with. These are not the same men. Your average man is a simp.
Right.
That's the average guy. And when I say average guy, I'm talking about maybe 98% of the populace are brainwashed and controlled.
Right.
And they're under gynocentric and feminist indoctrination.
Right.
Period.
Right.
98%. So when you see a space like this, and some women think that this is representative of the male populace as a whole, no. Don't get me wrong, the space has grown. That's why I'm giving it 98%. It was a time when it was 99.9% simping and only a small percent that were not. So I'll say it's grown. But at the same time that it's grown, I want to say it's increasing. Why? Just simple. I'm not trying to be deep, just simple. You got more people, more men in the population. The population has grown. So for as many guys who are not simps, there are 10 guys born that are simps.
Right. And when you think about, this whole Will Smith fiasco, and then I'm gonna ask you some more questions. I feel that Will Smith is a man at his core. I do believe he's a man at his core. I feel a little sorry for him to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also argued that Will Smith is an unconscious simp. What's your take on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Will Smith has been living in the shadow of Tupac for a very long time, but even by his own admission that he could not live up to the standard of Tupac, and he could not be to Jada who Tupac was to her.
Right.
And so that ultimately put him at a disadvantage, because what people don't say, and I love to say what people are not saying.
Right.
I don't like to sound the same horn and make the same statements and the same points that other men have made. Although those points are valid, I like to give something fresh and new. So my thinking is this: Will really loves Jada.
Right.
And his greatest desire is to have her respect and adoration.
Right.
And this is why he acts the way he acts. And that's something that he will never get.
Mm-hmm.
And Will and Jada, as I did in my live stream, is pretty much a mirror of the black man and woman in America.
Right.
Black woman goes for thug. Thug goes to jail and get killed. The BW then finds a nice guy,
right,
plays the nice guy,
plays a nice guy,
disrespects the nice guy, cheats on a nice guy, and leaves a nice guy.
Right.
All the while, the nice guy feels bad for being the nice guy.
Right.
Because the nice guy can't understand, why doesn't she like me? Because I am a nice guy.
Right.
Not realizing that most of these creatures out here are completely evil, and they are attracted to evil. And if you are a good guy, she's either going to A, ignore you, or B, use you.
Right.
And that's the thing. And a lot of men are not ready for the fact that her number one attraction is not necessarily height.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's what we think. And that's what we see on the superficial. But I submit to you, fellas, everybody in the chat, that a woman's number one attraction to a man is evil. If it's dysfunctional, if it's evil, she's attracted to it. Why? Because she loves
chaos.
The darkness.
Right.
She loves chaos. Exactly. I did my very first video that I've ever done on YouTube, May of 2013, was called Women Love Chaos. My very first video. So if you're dysfunctional, if you're chaotic, that's what she's attracted to more than anything, because it represents what she has within herself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can't choose or do anything that's outside yourself. The reason why I can't fly kosher, because it's not in me to fly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The reason why she can't pick a good guy, because evil is in her. She doesn't have an inner to pick a decent guy. She doesn't see a man who is moral and upright as something to be desired. A man who's principled, something to be desired. She finds dysfunction as something to be desired. Now, there are many reasons behind that, but the woman today is full of evil and darkness. The spirit of the God of this world, the spirit of the age, she embodies that. As I said earlier, that women reflect the society. Isn't this a presently evil world that we live in?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't evil more predominant than good? Isn't the vibration of life more negative than it is positive? This is why we have to push and fight for positivity. Right. So that's who she is. She's a conduit for whatever predominant energy is in the world. And I submit to you that the predominant energy in the world is evil. And that's what she's attracted to.
And sadly, Black Ram, many have been conduits because they have the imprint of these dusty men. You know, I call them Raekwon the Man, and Day. You know, she got the imprint. And so what women don't understand, Black Ram, they're containers. It was never by design for for them to play around and give their virtue away to a bunch of these dusty men. That's why when many times they come into a relationship, they have a hard time submitting, because you're not dealing with that woman, you're dealing with the spirit that's inside of that woman. You're dealing with Raekwon the Man, because she picked up some of his energy. She picked up his imprint. So you're wondering why she's so rebellious and combative. Well, she got multiple men inside of her, literally and figuratively.
And that's why the brother Obsidian made a great point a long time ago, and I've repeated it, and I have to give him credit for it. When she talks about the Dusty, she's talking about Thuggo in them. She's not talking about us. She's not talking about the men in the chat. But what she does is that since she chooses Thuggo and Thuggo only, she paints everybody with the same brush.
Right,
so
with the same brush.
We all are Thuggo.
Right.
Then she try to go on and say there's no difference between us and Thuggo, which is ridiculous and shows her delusion, because I don't know what planet she's living on, but a man who's just and upright and responsible and doesn't want to be a felon either anymore or at all, I think he's miles ahead of Thuggo. However, since that's her attraction, she doesn't care about the fact that you went to college. She doesn't care about your degrees, and she doesn't care that you're a great guy and make a great father and a great husband, because her lust and desire is for Thuggo. So when she says Dusty, she's looking at you, but she's really referring to him.
Right.
Because women never say what they mean.
Right, and it's a lot of times it's subconscious projection. You know, she doesn't even realize she's projecting it. You know, but you know, it's also a gross overgeneralization when you hear women like Cynthia G and Chris Logic and all these other goofy women, you know, running men down. You know, they take 100% of black men and equivocate all black men with the experiences that they had, and they'll say, you know, well, you know, black men at had the time, how can all these black men be this when 30% of black men are virgins, where over 50%, almost 60%, you know, don't have children? So it's a lot, right? So that makes no sense when you said, you know, you equivocate men to the anecdotal experiences that you've had, and you more or less castigate and cast aspersions on those men, and more or less juxtapose that those men are a representation of the whole. And you know, and it's sad, man, because you know, a lot of men now are beginning to wake up. I think these platforms are beginning to wake men up, but you know, also the simp hyena is causing a lot of consternation, because every time Black Ram, we try to raise the banner, or when we try to blow the shofar, there are others Black Ram, but they will seek to sabotage what we're trying to do. Because they're either unconscious simps or they have that matriarchal mindset, and they're trying to subvert everything we do and pull us back in a space where we can't become evolved. And so I'm gonna pull up the link on this guy named Frank James in a minute. We're gonna talk about him. Okay. I'm gonna get your input on this guy named Frank James. But why is Black Ram so passionate about masculinity? Why are you so passionate about it? You know, you're very passionate about it.
Yeah,
why are you so passionate about it?
Because there's such a lack of it, and it's only when we are in our masculine place that we can correct the world itself, because everything starts with us. So if we're in our masculine position, then everything else will follow. So that's where the passion comes from, because it goes back to that man, woman, community, and nation thing. You know, I can only get me straight. Once I'm straight and my brother's straight, then we can set the women straight. So that's first. You always have to put first things first. The reason why I'm always reluctant, and shout out to my brother Last Crucible, because he's the one that always mentioned this and keeps this in the forefront of my mind. I have to always bring it back to men mainly, right? Because if I don't, that's almost saying that a woman has more power than a man.
Right.
And we can't let that thought enter our mind. And as my brother Last Crucible always says, her waywardness is in direct reflection of our powerlessness. So we have to always keep that certain perspective. And also, her waywardness has a lot to do with the culture that she's been indoctrinated in and with. So we have to keep that clear perspective to understand. That's why I mentioned that if we were in our own land and have our own sovereignty, then and only then can we correct our women. So my solution is always where we have to leave you all alone, because we don't have the power position to correct you. Right. And that correction has to be by FOR. I'm going to space it out a little bit because of the YouTube algorithm. CE. If you can't make somebody, you definitely, you have to make somebody. Make her do it. If you can't do that, then there's no discussion to be had. I'm just going to go about my way. You go about your way. Hey, I'm powerless in this situation. In the hood, we just call it, you know, you got to know when you got. You know, if some guys jump out on you, you want your life, you know, and they got 6, you know, bangers on you, you got. This man who we're under, he got us. So although we want to correct them, the ladies, the women, we can't. We don't have the power to do it.
Don't have the power to do it, man.
Don't have the power to do it. So we just got to leave it alone.
You got to leave it alone. Right. And Frederick Douglass said that Black Ram very prophetically back in the past. He said this, and I quote, he said, the power Black Ram never conceded to anything without a struggle. It never had Black Ram, and it never will.
It never will.
And so how long would the struggle continue until men say, you know what, it's not even worth it? Because I succinctly believe that sometimes you had to burn the forest down, you had to burn the field down in order to bring in a new crop. You know, so many talk about community elevation and all that. I'm not against it, but But I think the community is irretrievably broken. It's broken beyond repair. I'm not against trying to help the remnant that are here and try to build with the remnant. I'm not against that, because there are some seeds on Black Ram that needs germination. So I'm not against giving impartation of light to those seeds. But by and large, Black Ram, the gospel is powerful. It said you have to break up that fallow ground. The ground is fallow. And when the ground is fallow, it has to be broken because it's too hard. And you cannot put seed, Black Ram, on fallow ground. The great teacher Jesus said, he said that you can't take new wine and put it into old wineskin. You can't do it. And people, and he's more than a teacher. I call him the Messiah, but that's neither here nor there. But people don't get it. So people have this nebulous thinking, Black Ram. They have this nebulous thinking about the community. And, once again, I'm not against it, but I don't see it ever coming into fruition. I think it's going to take some of cataclysmic proportion, Black Ram.
Absolutely.
To change the trajectory of where we're at now.
And I'm in total agreement. So the solution that I provide on my channel for the thinking Black man is simply this. This is not your world. This is not your show. This is not your place. So we take our basketball, we take our talents, and we leave. We leave this country. We leave these women alone. And although no matter where you go in the world, you'll probably be discriminated against, it's about levels and degrees. I have people argue with me saying that it doesn't matter if you travel, the European supremacy is going to be there, and it's going to be here, and it's going to be there. And that's probably true.
Right.
But what thinking people do, we talk about degrees and measures.
And you also play the odds. You have to play the odds and the science of probability.
Absolutely. So here, the women are masculine, and the women are in control, and the women are defiled. And I'm not saying that they are perfect other places, but at least when you go somewhere else and there you have that defilement, at least she'll listen to you.
Right.
And this is not for no power trip. I don't care if a woman listens to me at all. It's not a power trip. It's about what's proper. It's about me being able to get along. It's about me having peace. And I don't want to come in my house and the last thing I want is a woman challenging my masculinity. I don't need that. Right. So we take our talents and we move them. We go to other countries and we deal with other races of women, because we do not have the power to control our own. And that's just a fact. Now, a lot of BWs will say, well, that shows how weak you are. And I would have to concede to that point. But you have to also mention every other man in this planet who all are subservient as far as power is concerned, and political power and social power and economic power and almost any other power we want to think of. Everybody's bowed down to this American. The Russians do, the Chinese do, the Japanese do, the whole of Europe does. So that's everybody. So he's at the top of the food chain. It's just his time to rule. And having said that, that's his time to rule. Y'all belong to him. So that's who y'all should be with, except, of course, the European doesn't really want her in mass. So now she has a problem. So we just take our ball off the court and go, man. I think that's the only solution. Me, myself, I'm tired of seeing all of, us Black men getting gunned down and, women not treating us right or being right. There's a solution to all of that. Right. We're not, this is not the 1920s and 30s, and this is not the 1800s. You can get your passport and go. Right. You can make your money online, make your money through investments and go. And I know you know how important travel is, Brother Kosher. And I think that's the solution. And if tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't even see any other practical solution. I mean, maybe that's what Marcus Garvey was really talking about.
Well, listen, I've always said that travel is one of the 7 steps to male optimization. I said that there are 7 steps a man must go do in order to become optimized. And world travel is one of the great equalizers, because what it does, Black Ram, it helps you see things from a different perspective.
That's a good one.
You see women in a greater gradient. Not saying those women abroad are perfect. Not saying the women in South Africa or South America are perfect. They're not. They got their issues too. But the odds are greater, Black Ram, are far than it is here, because you're talking about tradition and culture. There was a time where there was tradition and culture in our communities, but it no longer exists. And anytime you try to bring a semblance of masculinity back, because it's never been seen before, it's seen as something bad, toxic, or, you hate Black women. Anytime you say something that goes against the norm, you hate women. And I keep telling people, we love women. I love women. I love Black women. If I was a single man, I would date women from other countries that are Black.
Absolutely.
That's what I tend to love. Let me read some of these super chats. Now, shout out to a man supporting man. He said, "Don't call me out, Black Ram, a retired simp." Shout out to him. Shout out to Shabbat Shalom. He said, "Blessings, Doc," and Black Ram 313 in the chat. No doubt. Shout out to him. And guys, get the likes up, share the content. Shout out to Gregory Scotland for this $5 super sticker. Shout out to Gregory Scotland. Thank you, sir. Can you hear that? The clapping, Black Ram.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I try to use it on my live, trying to find a way to incorporate it in stream, y'all.
Right. Shout out to my man, Top Gun. He said this is a great breakdown of the whole situation. He said you may proceed, and that is a deal, right? Shout out to him. And hold tight.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal.
Well, it's got so many great comments, guys. So many great comments in the chat. I can't read all of them. I'm just gonna click them on as I go. But we're gonna bring up something, Black Ram, that we talked about in the past, and we're gonna talk about Frank James. You know, Frank James is the exiled psycho simp. We don't endorse the killing or the exiting of people's lives like Frank James did. But I think Frank James' pathology is a combination, Black Ram, of mental illness, but also it's a combination, Black Ram, of the struggles that he had to deal with in a culture that does not honor and respect men. Imagine if Frank James did have an underlying mental illness, let's say a psychotic illness or a delusional personality disorder of that ilk, but he had women that were very feminine that more or less assuaged him. Do you think Frank James, Black Ram, would have went on that rampage? Because see, what they're trying to do now, Black Ram, they're trying to equivocate you, perhaps me, perhaps the Angry Man, Kevin Samuels, Tommy Sotomayor, Greg Adams, Bella Bachelor, maybe Mr. Palmer, and a bevy of men with the machinations of Frank James. What's your take on Frank James? And back to my original question, do you think if true femininity was manifest in this world of Frank James would not have been a saboteur of his own ignorance?
Yeah, I'll answer the last question first. Absolutely. It probably would have mitigated and solved some of his anger issues to a degree, because it's nothing like a beautiful feminine voice and a beautiful feminine woman in your life. And I have to just be honest, because this is therapy. I'm not going to sit up here and lie. Right. I'm not saying that it should be this way. Again, brothers, I'm not saying that it should be this way. But oftentimes when we have a woman that we love in our lives, she gives us a reason to live. Again, I'm not saying it should be this way.
Right.
But if you enjoy her, you want to come back home to her. And you don't, of course, don't want to see your life extinguished before it's time. Frank James is a man who is extremely troubled. I watched him years ago. I haven't watched him in many years.
Talk about it, because I never heard of him. Talk about it.
Yeah. I watched him. I used to watch him way back in the day, man. And he was one of those guys who, every now and then he would come to my channel and make a comment. I would go to the channel and make a comment. But I remember him being full of rage. And he would talk about how he was full of rage. And some of the points, of course, that he would make sense. But his anger was always too strong. And I think although you have this indignation, you have to find a way to detach yourself from the anger, or else it'll eat you alive. Now, I'm not saying it was just his anger. Obviously, this man has a mental illness. Obviously, something was not right with this man. What I hate about society, man, is that if his color was different, they would call mental illness all day. Or if his gender was different, they'll say mental illness all day. But because he is a Black man, he doesn't get that kind of pat on the back, that kind of excusing that they would give everybody else in a society, and actually make the perpetrator of the crime the victim. They don't do that here with this Black man. And I'm not saying that he is innocent. All I'm saying is that this man obviously is mentally ill and obviously needed some sort of help that he did not manage to receive. Now, should he be punished for what he did? Was what he did wrong and should be condemned? You're absolutely right. No matter what, I do not condone violence of any type, period.
Right.
And because I critique dating women does not mean I HAT, the rest of women. Just because I critique you and talk about certain issues has nothing to do with having a great disdain for you. So I think society is always so hungry for blood and so backwards and so crazy that they quickly want to paint with a broad brush and say that everybody who has any sort of disagreement with the government or any sort of disagreement with the way dating and relationships are going are Frank Jameses, and that's
right.
Not
that's not true at all. And Black Ram, what it is, man, it's the scapegoating of many men in these spaces. It's the scapegoating when you equivocate, as I said earlier, the Tommy Sotomayor's. You know, Tommy Sotomayor gets a lot of that. You know, sometimes Tommy can be a little out there, but if you listen to what Tommy's saying, the logic behind Tommy makes a lot of sense. I might not agree with always the tenor of how he brings things out, but you can't refute his logic. You know, you can't refute Coach Greg Adams' logic. You can't refute Bella Batcher, he's a white gentleman's logic. You can't refute some of the things that the angry man is saying, or Minister Japp, or even what Kevin Samuels is saying. You can't refute some of the logic, but you know, there are these what I call these psychosense, and also these male bashers and male haters. What they do, they equivocate any form of critique, and they project their anger from their past and say, you know, we're the next one on the FBI watch list.
Right.
You know, warning, you know, because you know Black Ram is going to try to hurt women. And so if Frank James came on your show, they'll say, well, see, Frank James, Black Ram endorses Frank James because Black Ram is spewing hate. And so what it does, it overgeneralizes, but also it casts aspersions that should not be justified. And because people, Black Ram, are not critical thinkers anymore, they just point their finger and say, see, Black Ram, the kosher clinician, all those men are like that. And I'm gonna tell you something, Black Ram, the struggle that young man went through a couple of months ago when he deleted his 2 baby moms, that's due to frustration. You cannot take men and lock them up in a cage, because I worked in prison. I worked in law enforcement too before I became a therapist. Over time, when you cage a man, when you cage a wild animal, Black Ram, it's going to become crazy. And when you sequester the free thought of men, Black Ram, you're putting them in a predicament that eventually they will become a walking time bomb. Because I said it in the past, that a broken man is a hopeless man.
Fact.
And a hopeless man is dangerous.
Absolutely.
And so what they don't understand, Black Ram, they are contributing to the pathologies that you're seeing manifest in some of these men. You know, we call them psychosimps. I don't know who came up with that term. I think Sean James came up with that term. Shout out to him. But you're beginning to see a lot of these psychosimps, you know, because they don't have an outlet. 30% of men are not having sex, have not had sex. So what is that doing to that man's internal machination? What is that doing to his hard drive? And see, what they try to do, Black Ram, once again, they try to equivocate all Black men that have any kind of ideologies as being incels. They say, well, you know, he's an incel. And Black men that started the incel movement, it was started by white men, you know, actually a white woman. So Black men that start the incel movement. But what's your take on this new rage that you're beginning to see from these men? Because I don't remember seeing Black men do this kind of stuff in the past.
Yeah, it's like you said, it comes from their frustration, their outrage, and they don't know how to properly channel their anger. And you're supposed to move past the rage into more of a quieter place where you just accept the way things are,
right?
And you become indifferent. See, I have no hatred for anyone at all. Indifference maybe. But you get to a point where you realize it's better to just walk away from a thing. And men who would want to off themselves is because they see no other way, no other outlet. I like to say this: when you make a woman all and you lose her, then that means you lose everything.
Right, you lose everything.
Right. So you don't mind offing yourself, and that's very, very, very tragic because men don't see a way out of the situation. They don't see it as, okay, there's other women, plenty of fish in the sea. They don't see a way out of this. So they internalize these things and they self-destruct. And I'm not at all blaming the victims of these crimes that should be punished, these crimes that are heinous, these crimes that make no sense at all. Because not only are you taking a life, but you just destroyed your own. And there has to be a better way. So again, all of this is just coming full circle. It is the frustration of men, and these men really need serious help. And this is why you're going to always see, Brother Kosher, people attacking you, attacking me, attacking this space, because they don't see how necessary this is. But when you see a Frank James, when you see these other men who are offering themselves and their mother or their children and others, then you see how this space is necessary, because this is our form of therapy.
It is a form of therapy, right? And right. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
And this is why I call my sessions therapy sessions. Not that anybody that I know of or myself wants to do any violence or harm. We're against that. We condemn that strongly. But there are issues that are particular to men, and particularly to Black men, that we need to talk about, that we need to hash out, that we need to get some clarity on. And this is why over at my channel, we offer solutions. Like Brother Tim Howard just says, crypto plus passport equals freedom.
No doubt.
Absolutely. Because we're saying that invest your money, obtain enough wealth so that you can live independently, possibly. You know, there's no guarantees in this life, but invest your money, accumulate your wealth, and get out of this country that, and I've slipped and said it earlier, but this country that HATEs you. The women have made it clear that they don't want you. And this power structure here has made it clear that they don't want you.
Right. So
there has to be a better place. And I understand that this is not a group solution, because most men would rather stay here and argue with the cops and fight with them. A lot of guys would want to stay here and fight with the B-dub and try to negotiate with her. Although these two entities care nothing about you, but we're still at their table begging them to accept us. I'm saying I'm moving away from a Martin Luther King type of mentality more into a Marcus Garvey mentality, saying let's get away from this.
Right.
As the only solution. Sure, you're going to encounter probably prejudice in other countries, but the last time I heard, I don't see them knocking police officers knocking tourists over the head when you visit Southeast Asia and Latin American countries.
Right.
You know? So go to a group of women who, and again, the solution is only for a few of us. Go to a group of women in places that are more accepting, because we're not accepted wholeheartedly anywhere. But let's go somewhere where there are more accepting, like we talked about earlier. There's a matter of degrees.
It's a matter of degrees, right? And also the odds. Shout out to my man Alton Prayer, and that is a deal, right? Alton Prayer said, "Hey, big bro, just a little something for the collection plate. I really admire you two living legends for doing all you're doing to empower men, no doubt."
Right?
And I count on the honor and the pleasure, Black Ram, because that is a deal, right?
That's a deal, right?
And I'm gonna read over in a minute some of this stuff associated with Frank James. But see, I knew back in 2009, Black Ram, that I had a mission to advocate for all men and all boys, white men, Black men, all boys and men, because I've always said before, Black Ram, in the past, that a nation of warriors cannot rise higher than the class of nurturers that support the warrior class. You cannot build a warrior class if you're not nurturing that warrior class. You need the masculine to teach it how to be disciplined, but you need the nurturing of a mother to give it hope. And so when you're not nurturing the warrior class, then you have a very broken class. China right now, Black Ram, and I know you talked about it several times on your channel, it's building a platoon, what I call a phalanx of masculinity, where they're not dealing with some of the negative liberal ideologues and thoughts here in the West, but they're taking away a lot of the things that we hold grand and normal. And a lot of the things, Black Ram, that we stood for in the past, we didn't stand for it in the past. And part of that is you're seeing now, Black Ram, at this burgeoning matriarchy where men are not allowed to speak. But let's talk about Frank James. I'm gonna read the story, and hold tight. And read the story of Frank James. So it says, Black Ram, that on 4/12, 8:30, Frank James fired gunshots inside of an inline subway at Edgerton. 10 people, anyone with information should contact him. Hold tight. Let me go back to it.
And shout out to Dr. Thunder. I see Dr. Thunder's in the house. Salute, my brother.
Right. No doubt. Shout out to Dr. Thunder. And this was it. This was the whole Frank James fiasco. He was being linked up with the FBI. The FBI was trying to get him. And I'm going to listen to this little clip real quick. Let me know if you can see it. Hold tight.
A shooting at a Brooklyn subway. We're learning tonight that the alleged gunman reportedly called the cops on himself and told them to come and get him from a McDonald's in Manhattan. Now locked up, there's a sigh of relief in the Big Apple after a nearly 30-hour manhunt. We have new video.
Do you think this was Frank James' catharsis, Black Ram? Do you think him telling the police to come get him was Frank James' catharsis? It was his catharsis, even though what he did was very pernicious. We do not condone violence, but do you think, Black Ram, that this was his catharsis, his emoting, because he never had a chance to emote?
Yeah, I think so. Now, don't get me wrong, he did a lot of emoting on his YouTube channel, but what he talked about really came into fruition. And one of the reasons why I say that I think he was dealing with mental illness, because this was many years ago when I watched his YouTube channel. But when I used to watch him, he would make these rants that really weren't connecting.
Right.
You're a therapist, I think they call going off on a tangent, but
Tangential.
Tangential. In a clinical sense.
Mhm.
Right, which having thoughts that are not connecting, right?
Right, tangential.
I would see certain signs of mental illness in him.
Right.
Of course, I couldn't really call it out, but now that I look back at it and I know a little bit more about mental illness, it was pretty obvious that this man needed help. And the thing about mental illness, sometimes you act out violently and you think in a violent manner, and this is what was happening to him.
Right.
And listen, it's one thing to have anger, and I get that. But it's another thing to act on that anger. That's why a good therapist, a flight of ideas. Absolutely. That's the
flight of ideas, loose associations.
Exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of time sometimes that can be, be tied to psychotic thought. One of the gentlemen, that white young man that saw him on the bus, said he was talking to himself.
Right.
And so he could have had Black Ram delusional personality disorder, could have been suffering from schizophrenia. He could have been suffering from a bevy, or what we call in the clinical world comorbid issues, because when we look at tangential loose associations, normally that's tied to psychotic behaviors. And that's how we more or less break it down, and also it could be tied to like schizoid or schizoid affective personality disorder. Sometimes it can be tied to for the women, histrionic personality disorder, but normally, like the magical thinking, that's tied to delusional personality disorder, where they think they can create something outside of themselves. That's magical thinking. And I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of these modern women have magical thinking, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's finish listening to this whole thing about Frank James. Hold tight.
Okay. Video tonight of Frank James leaving a New York City precinct and being transferred to federal custody. And this just in, he will appear in court for the first time tomorrow. James is accused of shooting 10 people, including 5 students who were heading to school. Luckily, no one was killed. Authorities tonight say there is no indication that James had ties to any terror organizations. And while the motive remains unclear, there is a trail of profanity-laced rants on social media videos that were allegedly posted by James. CBS's Mola Lenghi has.
And as we starting, guys, this is fair use. This is fair use. Let me go ahead and make that disclaimer because, fair use. This is for educational purposes only. Hold tight. This is fair use. This is for fair use. I do not own the rights to this content. This is fair use as we, Black Ram and I, break down this this diatribe with Frank James. But Black Ram, when you see this man walk out with a smirk on his face, he seems very disoriented, very obese man. What thoughts were more or less ruminating in your head when you saw him walk out with a smirk on his face?
I think that probably was his psychosis, because of course there's no smirking matter. Also, with Frank James, let's be thankful that, to my knowledge, unless something different happened, that no one was killed or seriously injured. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah, no one was killed. Someone was injured, but no one was killed. Luckily, thank God.
And I don't think anybody was very seriously injured. So thankful for that, because it could have went another way. You know what I mean? And who knows what the fallout would have been if that attack was fatal, costing a number of lives. But Frank James definitely is and has been suffering, and I can only hope that he gets the treatment that he ought to have. And thankfully, he didn't hurt anyone too seriously, because it could have been a lot worse. I'm curious to see how they treat him as far as a trial is concerned. Will they throw the book at him, or will they give him a slap on the wrist like they do, a lot of these cops out here? But of course, we know that he's not going to get that. Michael, even I think Frank James I think he's about 63, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, about 63, right? About 63. And my heart goes out to, Black Ram. There are some guys in these spaces. Some of them are a little special. Some of them, some of them are borderline weird. And sometimes these guys, man, take their pathology to extremes. And what they do, they lump all men into this one. Like I said earlier, there's a female content creator that tried to associate Kevin Samuels with Frank James.
Mhm.
I'm sure they will probably try to associate you with Frank James if he's been on your platform. You know, the angry
They
man.
don't associate me. I'm not that popular, but if I was, believe me, they would.
Right. Well, you know,
Believe me, they would.
Mr. Palmer, you know, he got a healthy channel, you know, and there was this magazine called Ellie Magazine, and they were trying to associate him and Dr. Thunder with Ellie Magazine. But, you know, it's always those very, what I call those very neoliberal talking points, progressively liberal talking points, where they always take anything that's traditional or masculine and they blow it out of proportion. You know, we call it thinking errors, or we call it what's called catastrophizing. And they catastrophize Black Ram and more or less and try to equivocate anything that we take, and they take it all out of context and proportion. And they say, well, you know, these men are dangerous too because, you know, they don't like women. But here's the kicker: you got so many women. Some of these women talk about the deletion of Black babies, Black boy babies at that. They use all type of disparaging comments towards men and Black men, especially some of these divestors, and nothing to say that channels grow. They won't shut the channels down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you froze up, Brother Kosher. Not sure if everybody can see me and hear me still. Number one in the chat, if I can still be heard, I'll continue.
I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe it's the area, man. You know, when you live in the RDU, even though I got the fiber optics, man, it'll lag sometime. I don't know if it's a StreamYard issue, but I might have to go to AT&T fiber, get that fiber optics. But yeah, man. So they try to take Black Ram all and any content creators that believe in masculinity and group us all as one, which in essence puts a bullseye on our backs. Yeah. And they said we're part of hate groups. We're gonna talk about, you know, the FBI and all that in a minute, but let's finish this video and tell me what you think. Hold tight.
Okay. All the new details tonight, and joins us again from the scene. Good evening, Mola.
Well, good evening, Nora. This exhaustive manhunt has finally come to an end with James's arrest just a few miles from the Brooklyn subway station here where the shooting happened yesterday morning. And as it turns out, he may have wanted to be arrested, as law enforcement sources tell the Associated Press that he actually called police to come pick him up. 62-year-old Frank James, New York City's most wanted man for the last day and a half, was arrested this afternoon on a street corner in Manhattan's East Village.
We were able to shrink his world quickly. There was nowhere left for him to run.
Zach Tahan said he called police after seeing a man who looked like James.
I was working inside the store, and I was doing security cameras inside, and I see the guy, he walking from the screen. I see him from the cameras. So I thought, oh, this guy, let me call the police. And I call him and we catch him.
James had been wanted since yesterday morning's subway shooting that left more than 20 people injured, including 10 from gunshots. Surveillance video shows the alleged gunman entering a subway station early the morning of the attack, wheeling the same black cart that was later recovered at the scene. Officials say James is the man who donned a gas mask, detonated 2 smoke bombs, and then fired 33 shots into a packed subway car. After the attack, police say James slipped onto another train car, rode one stop, and escaped, sparking a multi-state manhunt. But police did recover some important evidence at the scene, including a 9mm gun, 3 extended magazines, a hatchet.
Black Ram, why are we so reactive? Why are we so reactive, Black Ram, when it more or less relates to masculinity? You know, you've been preaching for years. You know, you're like John the Baptist. You're in the wilderness. You're the clarion caller, and many other men have been to be clarion callers and blow the shofar about what's going on in the struggles of men. But then we act very surprised when men begin to speak, and you know nothing is done, and then we act out in an aggressive manner because nobody holds Western women accountable. It's not just our women; it's all women. Then we act surprised. Oh, you know, I can't believe it. You know, just like some of the women say, where all the good men go. Yeah. But why are we so proactive, reactive instead of proactive when it comes down to the issues associated with masculinity, but then act surprised when people act out like this man?
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely don't want to be proactive because that means you really want to solve the problem. I realize some people just want to complain and not necessarily bring about solutions. The environment that Frank James had around him, from the things that he's seen, in his life, I'm sure had some sort of effect on either his psychosis or even if it, I don't know what his mental state is, but I'm sure his situations in life, early on in life, because there's always signs, right? I'm sure whatever his environment was contributed to where he's at now. He never got the proper attention and the proper help. I'm not saying that's anybody's fault, but that goes to what you were saying about being reactionary, where it should be where men like these are helped, they're instead ridiculed. And I believe his melanated skin has a lot to do with that.
No, I totally agree. Shout out to the Black Seattle veteran. He said, as always, a great show. Thank you, brother. And you guys like what I'm doing, the Black Ram are doing, go subscribe to Black Ram's channel, but also to the 113 that are watching, share this content, get the likes up. Some of you guys have done an awesome job supporting me, and I'm forever grateful. I'm extremely grateful when you guys support me and support what Black Ram do. But if you don't have any money, share the content. If you have not donated to the 110 that are coming in, donate to the channel, because when you donate, guys, it helps keep me motivated, because content creation is very time consuming. Shout out to MC Recovery Willis. That brother always show love for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. And my man, Mr. O in the Ozone podcast, I see him in the house. Shout out to that brother. So let's go back to it, Black Ram, and let's finish listening.
Gasoline and 4 smoke grenades. They also found bank cards and a key to this U-Haul that investigators say James had rented. A search of the van turned up a heater, some clothing, and blankets. They believe he spent at least one night sleeping in the back.
I think first and foremost, we were looking to get this guy off the street before he did any more carnage, brought any more carnage to the city.
His arrest record spans at least 15 years in several states and includes 9 misdemeanor arrests in New York between 1992 and 1998 for possession of burglary tools and a criminal sex act. Police say he purchased the gun used in the attack from an Ohio pawn shop in 2011, but the serial number had been scratched out when it was recovered at the scene.
It's about to happen.
Investigators describe James as a lone wolf who posted hours of racist, violent rants on YouTube, including ones against the mayor. Well, during their investigation, which is ongoing, authorities say they searched a storage unit in Philadelphia, which is registered to James, finding, among other things, a silencer and ammunition for AR-15 and 9mm weapons. James faces several charges, including terrorism against a mass transit system. And if convicted, he could face up to life in prison, Nora.
Mola Lengi with all those details. Thank you.
And his natural.
He didn't have that AR-15. Thankfully, he didn't have the AR-15 and that silencer, man.
Right.
Goodness gracious.
Right. And sadly, Black Ram, his life is over.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
It's over. 62, 63. He's gonna die in prison.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even if they give him just 20 years, it's a wrap.
Yeah, it's a wrap. Yeah, because you don't know if he's gonna. Because I worked in prison. I was a mental health CO. That was my first career when I got out of college, when I got my 2-year degree in law enforcement. I worked in prison, and those guys deteriorate fast. Psychotropic medication. The food is not the best. You're dealing with the stress of your life being put online. An old man like that. What is he gonna do with somebody trying to take his manhood? 62. You can't fight them off. I mean, unless you use that that ice pick.
Right. And luckily for him, they usually put older men in a certain section of the jail. Like you have a degree in law enforcement, and I worked in corrections for a number of years. I don't anymore, but so usually they put that type of person in a certain place, and if he has mental illness, depending on the facility, they'll put him around other people that have the same situation. And if there's any threat of violence nowadays, they'll keep him isolated from somebody else. And since he's a high profile case, most likely they'll put him somewhere by himself. So
right. And Chris Norwood is right. Unfortunately, society does not care about men, so we have to care about ourselves. I agree 1,000%, Chris Norwood. I agree 1,000%. But see, Black Ram, the antithesis to behaviors associated with with Frank James, and also the young man what was the young man named that deleted his 2 girlfriends, baby mamas?
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember his name. I talked about that when it first came when the story first broke, but I can't remember his name.
Right. And some, you know, some try to associate this man space. You know, I do affiliate with the manosphere. I'm not saying I'm part of it, but I do affiliate with it. I don't know if I'm in it or not. You know, I just do man stuff. You know, so I don't know if I'm part of a manosphere per se, but as a licensed therapist, I do believe this space is necessary because this space has saved a lot of lives. But like Chris Norwood said, he said, unfortunately, society doesn't care about men, so we have to care about ourselves and each other. And he is 1,000,000% correct. Because like Michael Jackson said back in '94, he said they don't really care about us. And he was talking about poverty. But you can take poverty and social structure or classism and more or less equivocate it to the struggles of Black men. But the antithesis of that and those bad behaviors, Black Ram, is a nurturing woman. You know, there was a content creator, Black Ram, to say that, you know, I don't know who it was. I don't know, it was Sandman. But he said, it was Sandman. I don't know, it was, I don't know who said it, but they said that men are one fellatio away from being back on the plantation again.
Yeah, I think Stardust, Barbarossa used to say that in Stardust.
Okay, Barbarossa said, okay.
Yeah,
right.
those are the pioneers of the MGT, you know, the rest community. In fact, that was Barbarossa.
Okay, Barbarossa, right.
Barbarossa.
And that's how powerful femininity can be. I think masculinity and its rawness is very powerful and intoxicating to a feminine woman, but also it's very intoxicating to a man as well. You know, Delilah used her feminine chicanery and her femininity, even though it was wicked, to get the strongest man to tell him her secrets. When the masculine is coalescing with the feminine, it's a work of art, Black Ram. It's like a symbiosis. It's like fusion and power. It's almost like an atom bomb. You know, it's powerful. But men have never seen true femininity. That's why when women come in these spaces, especially all chameleons, you know, men that don't know how to hold frame, you know, they get sidetracked because some of these men have still been imprinted by the women from their past. They still have what's called arrested development. Some stages of their psychosocial development is still being impacted, Black Ram, because, you know, they lose their mind when they get the love and the accolations from a feminine woman. What's your take on that? And then we're going to talk about the antithesis to this as well. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. That feminine charm can definitely be deadly and devastating, man. And it's something as men that we have to always be leery of because what a lot of men don't realize is that depending on the type of guy you are, if she's attracted to you and targets you, she will fake like you, fake her femininity, fake her desire toward you. Women run game too. And when they run game, it could be very dangerous when they use their charm. Very dangerous.
It can be extremely dangerous, right? I agree with you 1,000,000%. Shout out to
get that super chat from James Turner. Oh my
yeah. James, good brother. Shout out to James Turner. He's a great brother. He said kosher and Black Ram doing the big, no doubt. James, I appreciate it. Right? That brother always showed me love and support, and that is a deal, right?
That's a deal,
so shout out to James Turner. I appreciate that, man. But I want to talk about something that's even more salient, and hold tight, because this caused a lot of our Black Ram here recently, and I thought what Cam Newton was saying was no issue. But I want you to check this out.
I know you take a lot of pride in seeing your receivers play well. Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like, it's funny.
So
I don't understand what he meant by that. He said, I guess he's talking about in a explicit way, I guess.
No. He's talking about routes. He's talking about routes like, you know, Devin Funchess, when he was with the Panthers, I'm a Panther fan, running the wide receiver routes, you know. I routes. And he was saying that, you know, it's weird. And, you know, he came under a lot of scrutiny here recently. I'm going to bring that up as well. But it seems like that logic is being superseded by modernized dogma, modernized ignorance. There's another woman I want to bring up to your conversation. One of my dear friends, she sent me this. This thing, and this young sister got met with a lot of scrutiny, Black Ram. And her name is Tatiana Arnold, criticized on Twitter after asking how Black women can stop the emasculation of Black men in America. And it goes back to what I said earlier, Black Ram. anytime women that are good women try to advocate for black men, you got the ones that have been broken, you know, like the Cynthia G's and the I can't think of the other chick name that looked like Cisco with the bad hair. I can't think of her name. Chris Logics, you know, and all of them. What they do, Black Ram, they go back and they try to make the canary be quiet, and so it makes it very hard for those women to advocate for brothers, because what they do for them, Black Ram, they call those women, hold tight, call those women mammies. They call them pygmies, which is weird because I've always thought that a pygmy was something good. Hold tight, I got to go back and get that. But I always thought, Black Ram, that a pygmy was something good. You know, my grandma was a pygmy because see, my grandmama's name was Louise, and my grandma Louise was, you know, and like a lot of women in the South, they would go cook a pie, Black Ram. They would go cook that pie. And they would go cook a pie because they were trying to get a man. They knew that if they used their feminine graces and that feminine demeanor, they knew that that was part of being picked. You know, even theology says that the bride prepared herself for the bridegroom. So she was trying to be picked, Black Ram. So, you know, people use this foolishness, you know, because up is down and down is up, to shame women that want to be wives, that want to be traditional, or they use these womanist talking points and say that marriage is not the barometer of success, but it is the barometer of success. It's something that all should strive for if they believe in family. Now, if you don't believe in family, then we're not talking to you. If you want to stay single and have fun, do you. Just don't start crying, you know, when you in your house at 80 years old and your cat is sitting beside your bed and your dog waiting to eat you. Don't take it personal. But this woman came under a lot of scrutiny. So let's read what Tatiana Arnold went through. So she said that, and beautiful sister, I forgot, she's an actress and a singer. But you know, anytime, you know, the nose lady, she spoke up and advocated for men. I can't think of her name, Solange. Tina Knowles, she spoke up. And so when these women begin to speak up and talk about the pain and the hurt of black men, these same women, because they're still living through vicarious trauma, Black Ram, they project their experiences and overgeneralize it through thinking errors, which turn to catastrophizing once again. And once again, they begin to start having that overlay in their minds based on the pain that they went through. They got hurt by Raekwon the Man. So they think that you're Raekwon the Man. They think I'm Raekwon the Man. They think that the average guy is Raekwon the Man. And then they say all black men. Now, black men have done it too. Men have overgeneralized sometimes. I don't believe in overgeneralization. But it's a thinking error. But let's read what Tatiana Arnold said. And we'll begin to see what I'm saying now, the brokenness as it comes to logic, Black Ram, versus modernized thought. Modernized thought appears to be superseding logic, which in essence is delusional. It's delusional in mind, because a delusion is when you think something is there, but you show the person the evidence and they still fail to believe it. So Tatiana Arnold said this. Let me read her quotes. She said that, why it keeps taking me back. She said, I'm still reading comments. Woo. She said, despite all, she said, I'm still reading comments. She said, despite all, I would never be fearful of asking anyone questions. The black man and the black woman needs to heal together. We are against a plethora of odds that are continuing stacked against us, but won't change. And let me see, go back to see what she read. You've seen some of the women are saying facts. Let me go back. Let me see if I can go back. See what she was saying. But you see what she said, man. And so this is what was said: is out of all the black celebrities, the Twitter's main character of the day, beloved Tatiana Arnold, was probably low on everyone's list, but that possibly has skyrocketed into our current reality. Arnold was roasted live on Twitter, Black Ram, for the statement about black men being emasculated in her view in American society. She tweeted, honest question, what can we do to stop aiding in the emasculation of black men in America? And, you know, Black Ram, that goes back to what you and I talked about. But let's read some of these comments. Because, you know, many of them, because they suffering their own pathology, Black Ram, always see themselves as the victim. But before I read these questions, Black Ram, what's your take on this? Because, you know, Tatiana Arnold is an anecdote that's proven you and I right. Because see, when we have these conversations, Black Ram, some will say, you know, the kosher clinician and Black Ram hate our women, but we don't. We hate the behaviors. But what's your take on what Ms. Arnold said?
Facts. I want to make a quick point. Notice that when Black men defend and stand up for Black women, they're often ignored.
Mhm.
And when Black women stand up for Black men, they're ridiculed.
Right.
Just notice that.
Right.
And many of them, the melanated females, rather HATEU than anything else. It's almost like they love to HATEU. They love it. So I first want to say that. I think Ms. Arnold understands that there has been an agenda that's been going on for possibly centuries. Well, not possibly centuries. It has been going on for centuries. And I don't know what sparked this interest in her saying that, because as somebody mentioned in the chat, that the show that she was on, Martin Lawrence show, emasculated men. And I agree with that. Men on television, particularly Black men, but men in general, are always looked at as less than.
Mhm.
So I guess she's starting to see the ill effects. I wonder, does she have a son? Because usually when you find a woman somewhat sensitive to men's issues, it's because she has a son that she's seeing suffering. Because usually it has to be personal for a woman to speak on something. I'm gonna say it again. It usually have to be personal for a woman to speak on something. That's why when a man makes a statement, she always says, "Who hurt you?" Because she can only she only thinks in the subjective, where we can think objectively.
Right.
So it's not about who hurt us. It's something that we've observing and talking about. But for her, everything is subjective. So somebody must have hurt somebody that she knows for her to speak on these things. But nevertheless, it's good to hear that she has somewhat of a concern. I don't know if I can go with the sincerity, but then again, I'm not in her mind and heart. I can't say if she's sincere or not.
Right.
I got to get ready to run in a minute.
Okay.
Super chats.
Okay, all right. How many more minutes you got, Black Ram, before I let you go? I know you got to go.
About 10.
About 10. Perfect. Yeah. All right, 10 minutes. All right. Shout out to my man Red, Lord Black Sigma. He said that hyenas are off code, not keeping their males in spaces. Think about it. Some feel, Black Ram, that she really don't care about brothers. I don't know, but her points ring so true in what she's saying. And so let's look at the comments real quick, Black Ram. She said, as you can imagine, her followers have a lot to say on the topic. Which mean that Black women don't have to be the ones to save Black men from their personal mistakes, but they always saying, Black Ram, who's protecting Black women. So
yeah,
she said, what about us? One woman, where's the protection and respect for us? She said, you can't start by taking back insulting, unequivocal, asinine question is completely devoid of actual history in the context to back it up. Added another comment, because history has shown time and time again that Black women have been the one protecting Black men, and what have they done for us? Wow, sad.
Whoa.
Right.
Wait, Coach. Coach, did I just hear that she said that Black women have been the one protecting Black men?
Right. So basically in slavery, man, they were protecting us when we were getting hung. Make it make sense.
I would really like to know where that reference is at. I mean, I don't know. Is that historically true? I mean, I doubt the merit of that statement.
It can be historically true, because we were all beasts of the same burden. We were all struggling together.
Absolutely.
And our ancestors, thank God for our Black women of the past, like my grandmother and great grandmother. They understood that. But, of course, nobody can see our pathology and our trauma. We can only see through the lens of our own trauma. And then here's the last one, Black Ram. She said, one male commenter seems to agree with the women's writing. I appreciate the gesture that Miss Arnold, but I don't know if it's your responsibility. This is what I call a hyena simp. And in and of itself, masculation is subjective construct. Trans women, gay men portrayed in the media, independent women, none of this emasculate men. My manhood isn't that fragile. And once again, these male feminists, they are the great antithesis to traditional heteronormative masculinity. But I know you got to go in a minute, Black Ram. I'm going to ask you a question real quick. We always talk about solutions, because solutions are important, Black Ram, if we try to move forward. So I'm going to ask you this question and I think you said it more or less, but hold tight. I want to find this. Hold tight. So this is the part of the show when we.
This is the part of the show where we find solutions.
So
that.
that's that Leo creativity.
I like that.
But they always talk about Black Ram. We don't have solutions, man. Kosher. And so, what are the solutions, Black Ram, as we move forward, brother? What are the solutions? And listen, I look forward to coming on your show soon too.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
At the end of the day, we're gonna have a powerful show, man. But what are the solutions, Black Ram, moving forward? What are the solutions?
Yeah, it's going to be the same solution that I always mention. And for the brothers who are familiar with my channel, you all can put that freedom equation in the chat right about now, and I'll talk about it. I'll give the guys a couple of seconds to put because I know there's a delay, the freedom equation in the chat. Everybody who's familiar with my channel, I know your audience is here. I know some of our audience cross over, some probably don't. But for the guys who are familiar with my channel, put that freedom equation in the chat so we can talk about that.
Yeah, put that freedom equation in so we can talk about it. Black Ram, are you airing tonight? Are you doing the show tonight?
No. I got a show in the morning.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Crypto.
Let me see if I can find it.
Plus passport equals freedom.
Is that the equation?
Yes, sir.
So tell the audience why crypto plus passport equals freedom.
All right. So I'll start with the first one. Cryptocurrency is the greatest opportunity to make wealth, create wealth, the greatest opportunity in our lifetime. No asset in the world, period, has ever performed as good as Bitcoin. It outperformed every asset known to man, and nothing has grown as exponentially as Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And the future of technology, because essentially cryptocurrency is a software, the future of technology is blockchain. And there are many applications for cryptocurrency and blockchain. And getting in on the ground floor could very possibly, no guarantees, not financial advice, but getting in on the ground floor could possibly lead to a substantial amount of wealth in your future. And then once we have that wealth, or even if we are just going toward the wealth and don't have it already, but after we get that wealth, the goal is to get out of Babylon, to go where you are celebrated instead of just tolerated at best, right? So with the investments, the goal is to take that money and live anywhere in the world that you please and become a citizen of the world.
Right.
I myself, most high willing, if there's breath in my body, I would like to slow travel around the world, live in Southeast Asia, live in South America, possibly even Central America, and all throughout the planet, as well as Africa, and be a citizen of the world. Why? Because you won't get a fair shake here in America. This is the home and land of our adversaries, and they made it loud and clear that they don't want us here. Now, I know this is not the solution for everybody. Solutions are only for the few because most people are not solutions based.
Right.
But once we have that passport, we become citizens of the world, a lot of our troubles will be over.
Right.
Imagine being able to be in a place where the police is not trying to knock you upside your head because of the color of your skin, and a place where the women do not hate you. Because here in America, that's all we get. So our solution to the problem, and I call it the real peel. The show tomorrow at noon on my channel is called The Real Peel Perspective. The solution is investing, procuring that wealth, and traveling to give you a global perspective on life.
Right.
And since you're not really an honored citizen of the United States, well, we'll just be a citizen of the world, because from what I've heard and some of my experiences in other places of the world, you are welcomed.
Right.
Again, I'm not saying that they're going to love you and you're one of them, but again, it's a matter of degrees.
Right. Well, your status as an American is going to already give you
absolutely
layers above everybody else. And here's a caveat, Black Ram. What people don't understand, some say, "Oh, black men are actually loved abroad." A lot of women love black men. Depending on where you go. Now, sure there are some that see white men as paragon too, because white men are seen as powerful as it relates to finances. But when it comes down to sexuality and swag, There's no one that can touch the place of the black man. Dr. Thunder, Black Ram, want to get in contact with you. So what I'm going to do, I'll send you his link. I'll send you the link to his email. Dr. Thunder, I'll tell Black Ram to get in contact with you. And also,
and my email is simple. It's just blackram313 at gmail.com.
Blackram313 at gmail.com. Yep. Well, listen, man, this has been a powerful show, man. This has been an awesome show. What did you get from the show as you're about to sign off, man? This has been a good one because I wanted to touch community, but I know you got to go. But we did touch about it in part. We said it's a faltering community. It's going to die first before it rises back to the ashes. But in less than 2 minutes, what did you get from the show and how was it beneficial to you?
Oh, yeah. Always beneficial to come here and talk to the kosher clinician. Always beneficial to chop it up with you, big bro. And this is not something that, you know, it's going to be like a one and done. Because last time you invited me to the show, you had a panel. Right. But this is something that we look forward to in the future. And I think I invited you to my show first.
No doubt you did.
Yeah. And we did that show about travel. And now I'm here. And of course, most high willing, in the future, we'll collab over and over again. So it's always just good to be here amongst brothers who have a like mind. It is a privilege and an honor to be here with you. And of course, the great brothers and the ladies in the chat as well. So
no doubt.
It is my honor to be here.
No doubt, man. And shout out to the good sisters that are listening, because Black Ram, there is a remnant. There's a remnant of women that are trying to learn and grow. And maybe because Black Ram, they see the writing on the wall. You know, we don't know if it's genuine or, you know, they're just more or less reverting back to their base nature, which is protection, you know. And if it is the case, at least they're rational enough to understand that. But some would never see a Black Ram, and some will suffer Black Ram the recompense of their error. But that's not my concern. It's not your concern. But much love and blessings, Black Ram. I'm going to see you, brother. Thank you, sir. And appreciate this conversation soon. Just let me know when you want to do it. And,
absolutely.
And we'll go from there, right?
Yeah, I have, of course, I'm still recovering from shoulder surgery. So I have to rehab and some other stuff. So maybe in about 3 or 4 weeks, I'll reach out to you and we can schedule a date and time to bring you on the show. It'll probably be like a Saturday like this, and we can, you know, talk together about some things that I have in mind.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, guys, you got it. Black Ram, give that brother a round of applause. He did an awesome job, man. I call him the Sigma Ram.
Yes, sir. Sigma Ram. I like that. I like that. Appreciate that, big brother. Appreciate that. Have you ever heard of a guy called Brother Xavier, the Prophet of Thought series? I think you and
I've heard the Prophet of Thought. I've heard.
Yeah, I think you and him probably should collab. If I run across him, I'll mention it, because that's another great brother. I look at you as my big bro. I look at him as my big bro, and a few others. So
no doubt. No, I appreciate it, man. But tell him about me, man. We'll definitely set something up, man, because you know. Well, I'm realizing, man, you know, we might not be McDonald's All-Americans, but we are 4-star and 3-star. Actually, you're a McDonald's All-American, man.
I don't know about that one.
You're a 5-star. You're a 5-star pop. I'm calling you God Sham God, man. You like God Sham God. Man. You're a 5-star recruit, man. But like I said, man, you know, I appreciate it, man. You're a good brother, man, and thank you, man. When I didn't have my platform was nowhere near as big as it is now, and it's growing. You know, I probably had, probably less than 1,000 subs.
Yeah. You didn't have many, and your live streams back then were getting maybe 10, 15 people.
Right.
Now you're over 100 strong, man. So shout out to you and congratulations to you, that because your channel has grown, your consistency, your hard work, and you have a lot, I repeat, a lot to offer us in this community. Right. And I'm glad to see that your channel is growing.
I appreciate it, man.
Success is moving forward, and I wish you much more success.
No doubt, man.
I'm hoping to contribute to your success any way possible.
Yes, sir. And what I'm learning, man, is that brothers will support, and white men and black men. Shout out to Corey Hager. Corey Hager's a good brother, good brother. I call him. You know, I always tell people, Black Ram, you know, even though I have a heart for black men, my mission is to empower all men. You know, my mission is to empower all men, but because our struggle is a different factor compared to other ethnic groups of men, I have a greater love. But these brothers like the James Turners of the world, the Alton Prayers, the Tim Howards, the Top Guns, and many other good brothers, you know, they continue to show their love and support. And I'm forever honored for that, guys, because it takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of time and effort to do these shows. So, Black Ram, I know you got to go, but I'm going to bring some brothers up and we're going to finish this conversation. So
all right, my brother. All right, appreciate you. We'll do this again.
Yes, sir. Be good.
All right. Peace.
All right, G Money, how you doing, sir?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing? How's
I'm
everything
doing
going,
great,
Coach
brother.
Collision?
I'm doing great, brother. How would you like to add to the show, man? And you know, the talent of Black Ram and some of the things that he brought to the show. How would you like to add to the show?
Well, first off, I'm gonna say shout out to Black Ram 313. I'm a big fan. I've listened to him for years, you know, and I believe for men, particularly Black men, that's the solution. He pretty much stated the tenets of SYSBM.
Mm-hmm.
Why continue to stay somewhere where you're not wanted, you're not celebrated, you're not appreciated?
Mm-hmm.
The best solution to that sort of situation is to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when someone realizes that something is not around, they'll start to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
When decent, hardworking, good and honest, trustworthy Black men just start to jump ship, maybe this will lead to some sort of change in the behavior of our women.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's starting to take effect. I think a lot of Black men have checked out. They're not as vocal as some of us are. What they're doing is they're just doing what Black Man 313 just said. They're getting their passports, they're stacking their bread, they're refusing to date any of these women here, and they're just doing what they need to do.
Right.
You know, some of them may not even be dating women. They're just stacking their bread, getting themselves in shape, focusing on their career, and they're just doing what they need to do to be the best man that they can be. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. SYSBM, there's a misconception. A lot of people kind of think it's just about dating interracially, but sometimes it's not even about dating at all. It's about getting yourself together as a Black man and stop focusing on women. Stop adhering to negative stereotypes of what a Black man should be, these pseudo masculine, fake hood, fake thug stereotypes like the world wants you to be, especially what Black women think you should be, and getting yourself together intellectually, spiritually, you know, physically, just getting yourself together and being the best man that you can be.
Right.
And
right.
sometimes when you do that, it doesn't require you having to date a particular woman, you know. It's just getting yourself together. You know, sometimes it does require, if you're looking for romantic relationships, you may have to, and you don't see what you're looking for in this country, you may have to go elsewhere. Me myself, I have a trip planned to Thailand in 3 weeks.
Right. Shout out to Richard Mack.
Yeah. And I plan to have a great time when I'm over there. So yeah, he's absolutely right. You know, get yourself together, get your passport, and just do what you need to do to be successful. You know, it's like every week we find some other reason why, you know, this place is not welcoming to us. They're trying to emasculate Black men in some sort of way. You know, Cam Newton was on his podcast the other day, and all he stated was that he grew up in a 2-parent household with his grandmother present.
Yes, sir,
and he wants a traditional woman. And now he's being called misogynist and sexist, all because he wants a traditional woman that respects him, that takes care of the kids, that takes care of the house, that lets him lead. He's being demonized for that, you know. And I think if Cam Newton was a man of any other race, he wouldn't be getting such pushback, because we're expected to accept anything that the wind blows our way. It doesn't matter if she's 300 pounds, 400 pounds, has 4, 5, 6 different kids with 4, 5, 6 different men.
Right.
We're told that we just gotta accept what we can get, and
no,
you politely,
don't. No, you don't, brother. You don't have to accept.
We're politely, most of us are politely saying no thanks.
No,
I'd rather be single and die alone to accept any sort of trash that comes my way like that.
Right. Because the truth being told, G Money, they want to accept you for being 5'6". They want to accept you for being broke. They want to accept you for having a small phallus. So why should you accept them and their brokenness? You know,
exactly. It's complete chaos, man. Chaos. It's like what you said in the interview. What's up is down, and what's down is up. So
I totally agree, brother. I totally agree.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And the only way to deal with it is just to walk away. You don't have to put up with it.
Right.
You know?
Right. You don't reinforce bad behavior. And I'm telling you, young men, you don't have to reinforce bad behavior. Live your life on your own terms. Believe in yourself. Love yourself. Fortify your mind. Fortify your inner sanctum. If you need help, come see me at coachyourclinician@gmail.com. I can help you with some of those thinking errors, and start being around like-minded men that think the same. We're not talking about weirdos. You know, some of you men in these spaces, you know, need some deep help. But we're just talking about average guys that are burnt down, and they're tired, and they're frustrated. And I believe that men should get the best bang for their buck. The Ingram experience talked about something called relationship capitalism. And basically what that posits is that you should use your resources, your talents, and your time to get the best. I think women should do the same thing. But, you know, when you hear women like Tatiana Arnold, G-Money, you know, women that begin to advocate for Black men, it's always met with, you know, negative talking points, mammy, and some of these women go back in the past when they talk about, they always equivocate all Black men as being bad, and we punish them and we hurt them. And a lot of Black men, 30% of the virgins many are loners, and they don't get no love or attention. They just by themselves. They're isolated men. But where does this very nebulous, foolish thinking come from, in your opinion?
Well, it's hard to explain. Tachina Arnold, I think what's going to happen is we have close to 80% out of wedlock birth. That's going to be close to 90 or 95% within the next 10 to 15 years. She probably has friends that complain that they can't find a good Black man. And I think someone in the chat says she has a daughter. I also thought she might have had a son, because women that have sons tend.
Yeah, you got a lag, G-Money, I think.
Yeah, hello, could you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, brother.
But the thing is, I think that a lot of these women who don't hold this sort of this contempt for Black men, they see what's going on, and they're trying to speak out against it in an attempt to reverse what's going on. But you know, with this sort of
yeah, there's a lag, G-Money.
Hello?
I can hear you. It's a lag on your end.
Oh, I apologize. I think the only solution on the man's part is to just to leave. I'm a tenant of not arguing with silliness and arguing with fools. No, if you're not being treated the way that you want to be treated, and if you're not trying to adhere to certain forms of masculinity that they think you should adhere to, leave. Why sit there and argue with it? Just leave. Just bounce.
Right.
You know,
right.
you
don't cast your pearl to swine, man.
Exactly. Just leave. I mean, do all Black women think the same? No. I'm intelligent enough to understand that they don't. The problem is the particular culture that's being pushed upon them, that they all seem to kind of want to co-sign and adhere to. And this culture pretty much states that in order to be a real Black man, you have to be a certain type of way. I.e., the whole Oscar fiasco with Will Smith. You have to be a guy that's willing to kind of just throw your life away, an over-emotional guy, a wannabe hood guy. You want to go up there on stage and smack somebody. I mean, and that wouldn't work in the street. You get your ass shot if you do that in the street. You know, that's the type of man that they say you have to be as a Black man.
Right.
You know, yes, you should defend your woman, but you know, in that sort of situation, you know, they want you to make a fool out of yourself and throw your life away. It's not worth it. It is not worth it.
It's not worth it at all, brother. I agree with you 1,000,000%.
It is not worth it. So my thing is, I mean, if you could find a good woman in this country, I mean, Godspeed. Hope it works out for you. But even that good woman you may find, she's most likely already taken, or she has friends and family members that want her to adhere to these weird standards that they want Black people to adhere to. I mean, the social engineering. She has friends that are constantly in her ear saying, "Oh, you're a mammy, you're a pick me, you're a blah blah blah," and she'll fight back against it, but sometimes she might give in, just to fit in, So you gotta think about that as well. But
I totally agree.
But I'm gonna hop off. Thank you for having me again.
No doubt.
Shout out to you. Great show. Shout out to Black Ram 313, Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, Ron O'Neill, Dr. Thunder. You guys all do great work.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir. It's all for the mission of the brotherhood. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Westside Colic is in the house, always giving clarity, insight, and also, how can I say it, passion. Westside Colic, how would you like to add to this conversation, brother? And what do you think about the pathologies that are constantly permeating, brother, in this culture, where, you see the evidence from the Cam Newton fiasco, from the Tatiana Arnold fiasco, and from a show that I'm going to do soon, talking about the Frank James and how Frank James suffered in silence, and he actually probably turned to a psychosimp. Unresolved pathologies, also with unresolved mental illness as well. How would you like to add to the conversation?
Well, first off, great podcast as always. You're one of the best people out here that are doing this. Plus, this is your background.
I appreciate it, man.
You've done the time. You're educated like myself. I consider you, and this is not a diss or nothing like that, because I don't like saying this, but you're an elder in this community. You really need to have 100,000 plus subscribers by now. Because the information.
I agree, but listen, man, it's politics, and it's a good old boy club. But good brothers like yourself, and to the 99 that are watching, you guys are going to get me to the promised land. I will not relent. And I know what my worth is, and I know I'm helping a lot of good men, and I'm helping good sisters too that want to listen. And so I'm not weary. I'm not gonna tap dance to be part of no circle. And I sure ain't gonna kiss ass. I don't kiss nobody ass, excuse my language, but I don't do that. I'm a man's man. I say what I mean what I say. I don't kiss no man's behind. I respect all men in Westside College, but I bow to none. It's not a man on this planet I think it's better than me. I don't give a damn if you got 1 million subscribers or 100 million subscribers, or if you got 2 subscribers. Don't mean nothing to me. I respect all men, but I bow to none. So I always tell people, don't ever get it twisted. But I'm forever honored for those kind words and comments. And you're not the first one to say it. A lot of guys say it. They say, I don't know why your channel, it should be way bigger than what it is. But, like I said, man, politics, and I'll just leave it at that. But go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's just interesting, the psychosis of the male brain and female brain nowadays. But I just, like you said earlier, there's no outlets, there's no type of care system, there's no type of safe space for men nowadays. There's a term you phrased too about the gravy train simping and all that. And
gravy train simping.
It's just, I look at how things move and all that. And I'm no perfect person, whatever, but when I'm passionate about something, when I'm correct about something, I'm gonna go all the way with it, but in a technical way, nothing, not on some ignorant stuff. But I just look at, again, like the Cam Newton thing and all this, and in the video you just showed before with the lady, he was talking about the routes and all that. I remember when that came out, and they were basically trying to delete him or cancel him at the time with that. And it's just, it's hard being a male, especially a heterosexual melanated man. It's really hard. It's really hard.
It is, man. And when you have these male feminists, they have been indoctrinated by liberal dogma and liberal thought. They tend to inculcate Westside Colic their pathologies into heteronormative masculinity. Most men by nature on Westside we're very traditional by nature, and most men just want a woman that's going to love him, honor him, and respect him as a man. And the way you protect a man is by protecting his ego. But we realize that the forest is already on fire. You can't save it. There's a section of the forest that can be saved, and I'm going to help work with other brothers. Shout out to my man Sage Wisdom. I work with those kind of brothers to help save the remnant. But overall, man, it's done for. The writing is on the wall. The fat lady is singing. She's passing gas too, and the fat lady is singing and she's passing gas too, man. And you know, it's no hope. When is your birthday, Westside?
September 16th.
Oh yeah, you that analytical Virgo.
Yes, that's what people say. That's
what fussy.
Yeah.
And y'all perfectionists. Y'all are very perfectionist, very analytical. Y'all tend to worry a lot.
Yeah.
Because y'all suffer from something called paralysis by analysis. My daughter's one, but y'all are very very perfectionistic. Y'all get in trouble because y'all speak your minds, you know. But Virgos sometimes overanalyze stuff, just like Libras, you know. But you know, it's so good, man, to see good brothers like yourself, and we all come together, man, to work as a team to empower one another. Because many times these talking points on Westside College is often met with ill repute. But it's very powerful when men can come together and talk as teammates, you know, and try to empower one another. Because basically that's what men need. They need empowerment. They need to be empowered by other men. Every man need to hear each other's stories. But you know, some of these young men are not hearing it. That's why I tell the guys that are listening, if you don't have money to donate, if 5 to 10 people will share this content, then I could get up to 5,000 to 100,000 at some point. But you guys have to share the content. If you share the content, you help me grow, we grow, and then we can save a community of men, black and white, that need love, support, and also need help. Because there are many that need help. And as I said before, a broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is very dangerous. What else did you want to add to the conversation? Because this has been a very good show. What else would you like to add to the conversation?
Just again, you know, many thanks. And I also want to say too, as a millennial, and when I see, again, I don't consider you in this type of circle, whatever. When I say elder, person that has been through certain things in life that surpasses my experiences, I'm going to give salute to, like, you know, the Dick Gregory's, the Dr. Phil Valentine's, you know, et cetera, and, you know, people like that. And I see certain people my age or younger that are on these platforms that got bigger platforms than me, than you, that shouldn't be there. And that's one thing that aggravates me, especially in this manosphere. I don't want to call this, because I'm not part of the manosphere. I'm part of the balance of, if you will, the life itself. Right. I see a lot of people that should not be in the limelight because they haven't gone through certain rites of passages, certain disciplines, So when I see people like you, sir, and whoever else, the other names I name, I'm going to listen. I'm going to really internalize, comprehend, and study. And then when it's my time, when that baton gets passed to me, I'm going to apply the skills to the next generation. This is how I see it in circle of life. And a lot of us as men, we got to understand that process. And then when I see older men that are worse than, you know, Pookie and Ray nowadays, whatever, I just really, it's agitating. But again, I salute what you're doing here. And this is how men conduct around themselves.
No, I appreciate it, man. And I love your passion and your vigor. And, you know, and I always tell people, Westside, you know, I always say that part of the Manhood Chronicles is this. I said that manhood is a series of hills and valleys, victories, and also failures, Westside, and also Curtis Ball. But I say, whereas men, we may not agree on all things or ideologies, and we won't agree. But we come together as allies of a common cause. What is that common cause? The attack of heteronormative masculinity, the reduction of men having the right to speak their mind, and more or less dealing with mental wellness. But we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate once the crisis is over. The crisis is still here. I don't think it's going to go away in my lifetime. And I laugh when people call me an elder. I be joking. I say, man, I got too much swag to be an elder. But I got too much swag to be an elder, but I am an elder. I mean, technically I am, because I'm older than you, and I'm 50. But I love the fact that men are waking up. I think there are pernicious people behind the scene that will seek to subvert what we're trying to do. But I started the Manhood Chronicles back last year, man, with a couple of brothers, Ty Maynard Cutner, and a couple of brothers, Dr. Neil, the talented Dr. T.S. Johnson, good brother, you know, and that brother came on my platform back then. I never thought I would do this, but, you know, like you were saying, you know, I always felt like I was just as smart as some of the other guys was on, even smarter. So I said, why not? And I did it, you know, and I just work hard at it. I take it serious, and it's been growing ever since. So I really appreciate the love and encouragement that you give. do you guys share this content? Have y'all shared the content?
Definitely, yes.
Okay, well, please share it and share with like-minded men, because everybody's not ready for this. Only give it to like-minded men and women that are willing to listen, and like-minded men and women that are willing to learn. Curtis Ball, how would you like to add to the conversation, sir? How are you doing?
All right, I'm all right. Firstly, thank you, brothers. It's good to see you, brother, close clinician as well. As I always like to call you TKC. Good evening, brother West Side. What's the last part? West Side.
West Side Cooling.
West Side Cooling. Okay.
Cooling. I'm sorry. I said Colin. I'm sorry.
I'll add this because we give us a little humor, right? Mine's down there. It's the Inspirational Relationships group. That's my group. We talked, brother TKC, and my nickname there is the Sandman.
The Sandman.
And the reason is I put him to sleep, right? And I try to give him dreams.
Right.
I try to communicate dreams. I try to communicate the fact that dreams are founded on hopes, and the combination of dreams and hopes helping us to define life. And so that's my message. And what I see in all of these, especially we three right here, because we had a chance to speak. Same with brother Ram, too, is when you get men like us who are, like you said, like-minded. We see things like say around that 98.5% concordance rate, to the point where that 1.5% is essentially not significant with respect to our overall missions. And so I would like to say thank you to everybody, that was in the chat, because and again, anybody who comes here, I know you have lurkers. I have lurkers. I've been stalked. I don't West Side, I'm sure the same is true of you. You know what I mean? Whenever you have intellectual black men, we're being underrated. That's a huge problem with our culture here as well. Is that intellectual men, I get crapped on. And I know you gentlemen do too. Right. Okay, so that's one of the bigger cultural things that that I see as compounding the problem. So if we have say like the boss B, the modern woman, right? And then we have the soft men, and the soft simps and the dangerous betas. Those are our outliers. With the men, I see a lot of overlap, like it's sort of like the old school Venn diagram. A lot of overlap, and I always like to try to add this when we talk, is because one of the things I'm trying to do, and because I can see us getting all together, becoming more and more linked up. I've been trying to meet brothers, and congratulations, brother TKC and Westside, because you two are doing exactly what I've been struggling to do this whole time, and that has been to bridge the gap between Gen X men and millennial men. Like according to Westside, technically we're elders because we're in our 50s, right? And our elders are technically in their 70s, late 70s and late 80s. So and this I'd like to make a good point, is it means that given our cultural milieu, and brother TKC, let me know if you agree or disagree, but for us to be our age and we have had to step into elderhood behind this. We weren't like initiated. We didn't grow into it gradually. There are voids in our culture that said, Kurt, step into the role. Brother TKC, step into the role. West Side Cool, step into the role. So West Side, even though you're a millennial, you're in the elder position. So that's what I like to talk to people about. And the contrast is this: men who are older than us as well, they tend to want to take the elder position because they think that elder is associated with age. I don't. I associate elderhood with those of us who have gotten through at least most of it. And therefore we can reach back, and we can reach back with a hand and pull our brothers back up. And that, to me, is what it means to be an elder. So when we talk about elders, all three of us, regardless of our age, by virtue of our duties and responsibilities and the way we hold ourselves accountable. That's what makes us elders. And I can be very verbose, so I will stop right there.
but that's fine. I'm gonna ask you this question. I'm gonna end the stream in a minute. You know,
yes, sir.
We talk about this mental pathology that's going on. I'm gonna do a show maybe tomorrow or Monday talking about logic versus modernized mania.
Oh,
logic versus modernized mania. It appears that the modernized mania is spreading like a stage 5 pathology.
Yes.
And anytime you try to bring logic into the equation, it's always met with despair and ill repute. Westside Kulik, I hope I'm saying it right, but Westside Kulik, why so much pushback to logic? Because logic and rationality is the key to survival in life. But, you know, is it because we live in like a democracy? Is it because of liberal indoctrination? Or is it because a combination of all those variables that play a major role in our lives, in your opinion?
I would say all the above you just said, sir. Also, I believe Satan or the demons are here on this planet currently. I mean, they're here amongst us. I mean, that might sound wild or weird to certain people, but they're here. I see them. I see them every day. I just know how to get away from them. I know how to divert their energy back to them, because a lot of us are getting swallowed whole by it. A lot of us are taking on their energy. A lot of these women that are having these children are basically the womb for a lot of these demons that are getting born today. Again, I know it sounds wild and stuff like that.
So when you say demon, Westside, you mean actual little manifestation? Are you saying it figuratively, or you're saying that you're a seer and you can see it, or you're saying you can feel the energy? Which one?
On the physical plane and the spiritual plane, but I believe the spiritual plane is the conductor of what's going on here physically. And it's a comment I made in the room earlier, sir. I was talking about how basically when an unmarried woman opens her leg, she's committing an act of war. And people are like, you know, what does that mean? But there's a lot of things. There's a process to a woman, how she's getting turned on, how she wants to receive a man. And then also, what is she conjuring when she's basically having a baby? You know what I mean? So women have to know when they're finding a man, when they're trying to have a child, they have to know, they have to be in balance. A lot of these women are conjuring these off satanic beings and stuff like that. And this is why we have this weirdo stuff going on today, a la feminism, neoliberalism, liberal nation, like you just said, sir, and all this kind of weird stuff like that. It's part of the demonic circle of Satan.
Right. Well, I definitely do believe, if you believe in the esoteric, that malevolent energy is definitely increasing. And the gospel said that that before the Messiah came back, he said that wickedness would increase or evil would increase. And you see it. You know, I've never seen a time, Curtis and West Side, where we're seeing the malevolent forces more or less happening now. Some are studying demonology, and demonology talks about how spirits operate. But I totally agree with you. You know, Curtis, you and I are from the, you know, Gen X. We're from the class of 90. You probably, well, not 90, you probably 87, 88.
86.
80, oh man, damn, you with Shalimar, man. You with the bars.
Yeah, you got it.
You with the group called Switch. I call your name.
You got that. Somewhere there's a love just for me.
but you know what? You know, you and I.
You know something, brother? When I talk to people, right, I do use the music from our generation to explain things. Because if there's one thing that I try to rely on, is that I see two areas of the truest equality, and that's sports and music. I believe I brought this up last time. Well, sports, you know, obviously we can't throw football here and talk, but we sure can share music, and then sharing musical lyrics, especially with Stevie Wonder and Patti LaBelle. Those are the two that I find get through to men and women simultaneously the most. Because, you know, like while we may be talking tonight and constructively criticizing, you know, women and our relationships with them, and like Brother TKC just said, this seemingly widespread mania amongst women. When we first I met with Suzette Speaks, that was the first time I had said that to her, and she really didn't know what I meant. And I had told her that, well, if this is women's attitudes and they want to willingly take over both roles in the family to the point where they don't need a man, then, and that is, you know, a huge percentage of women saying that nowadays, that to me sounds like mass neurosis. Now, I'm not trying to diagnose, I'm just sort of, just trying to describe, what I see. And but again, it's like we talked about last week. These are also the same women when they really do need your protection. They're the same women that come back, and that just seems to be a fact.
What do you remember from the past, Curtis? What do you remember from women in the past when women were more demure and more or less exhibited true femininity? Because I saw it. They weren't perfect, but women were a lot more feminine when we were growing up in high school back in the day. And they exuded a level of femininity that was superior to what we see now. But it seemed like after the 90s, and then around 95, the gangster rap things start getting for the worst. But what do you remember from the past about femininity and feminine women from the past?
Okay, you're gonna find this funny, brother TKC, brother Westside Kulik. If you haven't heard this yet, you're gonna laugh. When we were younger, right? Women used to carry themselves in ways that we would find to be attractive. They actually wanted us to be attractive with them. And my favorite attractive part was the switch.
Right, all right, the switch. Right?
It's just like you said, I call your name, girl. I mean, they were literally and behind, boom, 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 boom. I mean, we don't see that now. I see women, right, and they're just walking like they got somewhere to go.
Right.
But they don't seem to be aware of the men and us paying attention to them. And nowadays, if we look, it's just ignore you, and or maybe think something negative about you, or just dismiss your attention, or the other one I like to hear is, well, I had something on my mind, so I didn't have the wherewithal to say hi to you after you said hi to me. It's like, please go ahead. I'm really glad that in my opinion, and this is where we talk about men in the manosphere, that we are not. I think we might be misusing this term, because I do think we are a monolith. I don't think it requires all of us to say things the same way, or mean things exactly the same way, or have exactly the same perspectives on every single thing. No two independent thinkers are ever going to agree on 100% of things.
Right.
I think what makes us a monolith is one word that was used tonight that I've been using, and and now I'm hearing more of it, and I cannot be more ecstatic. Brotherhood. I cannot wait, and I am glad to be right here, right now, to be part of a burgeoning brotherhood. It has been hard to build. And let me, gentlemen, I'll stop with this, right? Because I'm trying to do the same thing with the sisters. Because if I have brothers and sisters under my, under the auspices of my venue, then these are sisters who are rocking with me. They trust me, and I trust them. And if that trust falls apart, well, 80% of them leave, and then we get to sit still. And the remnant, just like you said, the remnant is who I work with when it comes to women. Period.
Right.
Black women in particular, all women in general.
Right. I love that. Black women in particular, but all women in general. And I say the same thing, man. My heart goes out to the remnant. Shout out to the young line. That's the young line. I love that young brother. He's a good man. Him and I done a show together. Sir Hill speaks. He got that Leo swag like me. He says, salute Coach King for that $20 super sticker. And that is a deal, right? Shout out to my man, Sir Hill speaks, a good brother. He's very logical like myself.
Yes.
He's young. Sir Hill's he's a young lion, man. He's very young. I didn't think he was that young, but he's a young lion. But he's a good man, and I respect him 100%. And guys, these shows help inspire men. And I got some fire for your mind coming tomorrow, man. So be on the standby for tomorrow and also Monday. I got a heavy one.
I tell you, if I can say something in all honesty, and this is and I think this needs to be said. If I'm the only one who needs to say it, then I'm going to be the one to say it. This is why I ride the back. This is why, my whole Sandman, motif and whatnot. This is why I come in the dark like this, because I want the emphasis not to be on me, but on what we're talking about.
Right.
And so I feel like you don't need to see the Sandman's face, but you do need to hear my voice, so that I can vibe with the brothers and also vibe with the sisters who vibe with me. Right before I came on, like I signed off a little earlier, I got a phone call from a friend of mine. She is a 67-year-old retired social worker. We work hand in hand. But you know why we work hand in hand? Because she never stopped loving the brothers. And she vetted me. And this is the first time I've ever seen, in this day and age today, a woman actually accurately vet a man when she accurately vetted me. And when she came, it was like, we might want to use the term, she told me about myself, but she did. She read me like a book. And then she was like, I want to come on board with you. And that's the kind of attention. So I know I've probably repeated this every single time we've been on, but I feel like I need to do that because there are some good sisters out there. They're the remnants. And but what I'm finding is the more I put myself out there, the more the remnants come. And that has been working well for me. And very well, to the point where I have very good relationships with Black women, that I'm not being sought after for non-sexual attention. If I am, you got to move over. This is biocycle social spiritual model. It's, people get it twisted. I actually had one therapist say to me, "This is just chat." She did not last for 30 more seconds in my group. And I am brutally honest here, because that kind of stuff is so harmful. And I'm a Sagittarius, okay?
Right.
So hopefully
intellectual.
You're out, and you're out. I would like to, we would like to include everybody, but when we include these chaos, what they call chaos actors, when we introduce or allow them to be introduced, like you were talking about earlier in the show with the simps, the sneaking in simps, with that Ram was talking about, the more and I hate to be exclusory, but at the same time, we do have to exclude, we do have to exclude those who just want to troll. Now Ram's been at this for a long time, so he can pick him. But myself, I've only been at this for 8 months, and 15 months total, but 8 months with my own group. It's hard to pick out the trolls, but the harder trolls to pick out were the sisters.
Right.
So chameleons. I don't have any hit dogs or German shepherds, because I leash dogs and walk them. I dog walk. I walk dogs. I don't. You know what I mean? I raise pit bulls, and I love dogs. But you know what I mean? I will, and it's like we said, and if I can end with this one, Brother Kevin Samuels had said, somebody had said to him about his tone, and I need to hear with my tone, that's what I hear sometimes too, is my tone. And like Brother AMAS, I think, as well, last week, we get criticized for our tone. That's why I like both you gentlemen's tone very well, because nobody can complain about it at all. They can't use that excuse when they come to your forums, to your fora, I should say. I'm sorry. And so the bottom line then becomes, to me, when it comes to combative women like that, is, okay, you're here with us now. We're not sitting here arguing with you. We're trying to talk to you about. So what are you arguing and fighting with us about now? And please take the time to think about it. And generally what happens to that goes silent. And Kevin Samuels had said one time, he said people think he said more men should sound like me. And that's something I totally agree with him on, because I will go, sometimes I'll be as low as West Side. I'm usually in the middle right there with you, Brother TKC. but I make no mistakes. I have my KS and Jap moments.
we all do. We
all do, don't we?
We all do.
So that brotherhood right there, that synergy that we all just talked about and put together right just now, that's what I've been waiting for. That is exactly what I have been waiting for. Thank you, brothers. And
I'll say this, and I'm gonna let G-Man speak, and I'm gonna end the stream.
Yes, sir.
The biggest detractor to men is that, number one, you got to be secure in yourself. 1, 2, you got to manage your ego, and 3, your mission. The mission got to be bigger than your ego. Some people talk about brotherhood, but some people have alternative motives. I'm not a fool. I know every man that come on my stream don't have the motive to help all men, but I do this with a pure heart. I knew back in 2009 that I was going to be a therapist. I'm a real licensed therapist. And anybody want to see my credentials, when you see the coach clinician come on, you see it. I'm not fake. There are charlatans in these spaces that are fake.
Oh my goodness. When I hear some of these young women come on and they say, I'm a therapist, I'm like, no, you're an access coordinator. Okay. So and that's not to be insulting. But a lot of women conflate, in my experience, right? A lot of women conflate their positions in mental health with being a therapist. And that is beyond frustrating. And it's just like you said, Brother Westside, a lot of these guys do not have the stripes to be here. They really do not. And so I've had some of the younger men tell me, oh, well, you've missed out on a lot. I'm sorry, son, but I may not have been watching the Manosphere as long as you do, but I technically don't consider myself Manosphere because I did not want it to be, I do not want Black men, I do not want us limited to just gender and color. We've been through that enough. I've had it. I will not tolerate one more minute of it again, not even from myself. So I call it the human sphere. And that way I can get a little bit more of an objective perspective on everybody's going around. And then I zoom in, and that's how I found you, Brother TKC, which has led me to Brother Westside College, which has led us to Brother AMAS. And it's not like I've lost any respect for the brothers, but this is the kind of forum that I see where things can get done. I've seen you have women on here as well who are supportive of men, and they were very strong, but strong in their femininity, not strong in their pseudo masculinity.
Can I add one more?
Yeah, go ahead. And then I'm a G-Man to come on. Go ahead.
Yes, just a quick point. I'm saying what you were saying, sir. Like you were talking about the switch, and I've heard other gentlemen talk about that. Also, I remember seeing that too. And my point is, I want to make this quick, and this is going to sound outrageous to some people, but women officially died in 2006.
I believe you.
If you study that year and after, if you look in their eyes, you look at their halo, if it's even there, and you study their energy, they're done. And you see what happened after that. Everything has changed.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I really think it came to a head in 2014 with the Me Too movement being hijacked because all the male feminists, right? Now I do believe this, and let me shut up after this. I do believe this: we would not be having this conversation for as long as we've been having it with the intensity that we've been having it, if we did not love Black women,
right?
And that gets lost. So I just wanted to say that one more, sisters. Whether you're lurking or whether you're here loving it with us, please understand that we brothers love you. Even the Sandman in the dark, I'm in the dark loving you too. We have not completely given up on you, just like you have not all completely given up on us. But let me, if I can say this on behalf of all the brothers who share our points of view, sisters, we need y'all to speak up.
Right.
We really need y'all to speak up. You see the same way we're speaking up, good sisters? You speak up. You ask us for our protection. We will protect you, and you can speak up more. And that's what I want to add to the intergender aspect of this conversation. Thank you very much, Brother TK.
No doubt. G-Man, how you doing, sir? We're going to end the stream. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay. I was about to say, could you tell Sandman to put up that violin, put it up quick, because that love has been betrayed. You cannot mistake love for betrayal. as long as I've seen things and always sat in the background, if I listen to some of John Henry Clarke's in his speeches, he even talks about how the females came at him. They even went at Dr. Phil Valentine when he wrote this Gerald. This me.
Hey, hi. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. So I'm sorry. I know Gerald. How you doing? Yeah, they deleted my channel, man. So I got a new channel, man. So
Hey, man, well, you have to understand something. Anytime that we speak up and speak with strength, they're gonna attack. That's why I like being a student. I knew they was coming at you. They're gonna come at Coach because Coach is being pretty professional. He's not being rowdy. And somehow when we speak with clarity, we're hated for that. And for what Arnold said about they protected us, they never protected us. So this thing was about economical transfer. I've seen them even attack Phil Valentine for writing the book. And he said he loves the sisterhood. But
that's right.
Nobody educated us. Now, my grandmother knew about it, but she always hid it. Nobody never taught us about the spirit of Lilith or the Jezebel spirit, but it reared its ugly head. Now, we can talk, Sandman, about how much we love them, but honestly, I'm going to pick out of the, let's say, Tina Turner. What's love got to do with it? Yeah. When I look at BET, that's one thing they always play us on. They play us on our emotions and love. What they never do is teach us who we are. See, I don't need it no more. All love got me was a 1 penny refund check from child support. What it is they abstract money. So for these good women out there, this shit spoke a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? So no, y'all follow Oprah, y'all follow Gil, y'all follow that. To me, it's too late. And for me, I would rather for the young brothers to not gamble. It's not worth gambling because they don't need this 10-year-old time bomb ticking on them. Now, masculinity, period. Forget the color. It's under attack. In our freaking world, you got it where a man can identify as invisible. And we have to respect the fact that you're invisible. Mind you, y'all know what I'm talking about. I just don't want the channel to get taken down because you cannot speak clearly about that.
Well, let me say this, guys. Let me say this, and I appreciate it, G-Man, and all the other brothers. I try to be a clarion caller. I try to speak with clarity and conviction. And I don't want mine taken down because I work too hard to get it. So, you know, as I say, as men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, but we do come together as allies. And there is a crisis in heteronormative masculinity. So I always tell people that, you know, be cognizant when you're on someone else's channel about philosophies and ideologies. Am I telling you not to speak your truth? I'm not saying you can't, but take in consideration that I am a clarion caller and I'm one of the few licensed therapists on these platforms. So I ask that you guys, even though you guys have a good men, take in consideration that, you know, there are forces watching behind the scenes. And, you know, West Side know what I'm talking about. G-Man and also the Sandman. So you have to talk in code, you know, because listen, my mission and what I'm trying to do with these young men is bigger than me. So I didn't work hard and put in all these hours to have, you know, my hard work being things. So I love you, brothers, but always keep that in mind. But go ahead, G-Man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If you know, no, you're absolutely right. See, my whole thing is let me be that sacrificial lamb for these young brothers because I wouldn't want no men. I don't want no men to go through this. And I'm in another country. And I know up here, as a Romanian guy who I used to work with, there's only two options for men north of the border. Either submit or eliminate yourself. And it's sad because men up here, you understand what I'm saying? So I like the way the young brothers think. You have to walk away out of that lion's cage and don't get bitten. I mean, I know it. What's love got to do with it? It sounds like a fantastic idea. I hear the Sandman and switch, but I got a life jacket for Sandman and I got some tape for his hourglass when it crack and the sands come out because he's going to get bitten each and every time. I've seen it over and over and over again, and it never fails. And it's sad.
Well, I'll add that to you, right? I've been because you're right. I've been bitten a lot of times in life, right? But I am at a point where I'm not getting bitten now.
I got the life jacket for you, Sam, man. Don't worry, I got a life jacket.
Yeah, I'm glad, but there's the brotherhood right there. I'm glad you got my back, because if I can't see it and you can see it, and I trust you to tell me, and then I'll pick up. I'll be like, oh, okay, got you. Good looking out, brother. And that's what brotherhood means to me. You know, that's what brotherhood really means to me.
See, and this is going down toward the high schools, because don't think some of these guys who don't have balance are not like, well, their friends are like listening, probably playing video games, stop, just pause it just to listen, saying they're talking to us. Yes, because this cycle of life is like with energy. We leave, we come back. Life is a revolving door. And the preachers, they never did nothing to help us. They always concentrate on what? The economics and the money. That's why one of the TV guy used to say, you don't need no man. What? Well, why would you say that? There's no us without them. And honestly, there's no them without us. I just don't think they have the spirit, as Westside said, of this creator to come at the negotiating table and to negotiate with even themselves. I don't think they can negotiate with themselves. So my thing is, this is why I like listening to you guys, and this is why I stayed in the real. But I just had to say something, because I was listening to Sandman. Them two spirits. Remember, we were not educated on Lilith. This is a new thing that we're learning, that it has been around all this while.
Yes.
This system has used them to, that's the word I want to use. They have used them to take things away from us. The most gorgeous thing in this life, and I see it, is children. They treat you with the love that is, you can't describe it. It's a kindness, it's a love, and somehow in this world that they've been kidnapped and stuff like that, and it's like, my God, they literally did this and used them. So they have drunken that poison that Marcus Garvey talks about. They have drunken that poison, and they don't want to give it up because they want this material world. This material world rules them. They want the Birkin bags. They want this nonsense. It's nonsense.
That's true.
And that's why I like KS, because KS is the great exposer. I mean, there's no way you can tell me that you deserve a man making $500,000 a year. How many men have you met in your lifetime that made $500,000? None. Then how the hell can you come up with that number?
Right. Hold tight, G-Man. Shout out to my man Corey Hager. He's one of the brothers I love and respect. He's a white brother, and I say that, because he's a good brother, and I love and respect him. And like I said, guys, I wanted my platform to be inclusive of all men. Do I have a special love for the brothers? No doubt, because our experiences are unique to this milieu called America. But good men like Corey Hager, brother, I appreciate you, and for that $50 lunch from PayPal. And that is a deal, right? So I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir, Corey Hager, and other brothers. And Corey, if you know other brothers like yourself, good white brothers, tell them about the Kosher Clinician, because there's an attack on heteronorm to masculinity. There's an attack on masculinity in general. And in this dark forces, some of it is tied to the esoteric. I'm not going to talk about it tonight, but Black Ram knows what I'm talking about. Westside Kulik knows what I'm talking about. Sandman and also G-Man. There are spiritual forces at work. It's all by design, and you really can't say certain things on these platforms. So I'll just leave it at that. But because I have a background in the Bible, because I have a background in spirituality, and also as Curtis said, as a therapist, we look at things through the bio, which is the body, the bio, which is the body, the psycho, which is the mind, the social, which is an environment. But as Carl Jung talked about, Carl Jung also talked about the spirit. And so when we cannot quantify physical matter, then we look at things through what's called the phenomenological argument, which basically posits this. There are certain things that cannot be measured through science. Therefore, we juxtapose it by understanding, guys, that these phenomena are spiritual. And Carl Jung talked about it through parapsychology. I'm going to do a show on that at some point. But there are things that we cannot quantify through science and empiricism. That's why when you talk to people about spiritual things, they look at you like you're crazy, because the carnal mind cannot understand the spiritual things of God. It can't understand it. So when you talk about them, they look at you like you're crazy. But here's the caveat to that. The spirit world is actually more realer than the physical world. And this physical world is passing away, but the spirit world is forever. That's why people don't understand when you sabotage other brothers for gain. You know, integrity and brotherhood will supersede the temporary money and fame that you're getting. The millions of dollars that you got in the bank is going to pass away. You're not going to take it with you. That fame and this YouTube platform will pass away at some point. And, you know, in a few minutes, we're going to have Resurrection Sunday. We all will appear at some point before the Creator. And so I try to do this thing to empower men, not only from a psychosocial perspective, but also from a spiritual perspective. And I'm not a perfect man. I got my demons. I got a lot of repenting to do. So I'm not coming out here acting like I'm all perfect and I do everything right. No, I got some demons I got to work on too, because I got to hold myself accountable unless I be a hypocrite. So I'm a very generous but a very genuine man. I'm not perfect. I got my flaws. But when we have these brothers, man, we come together to share our stir and our pain. And that's how we heal through this universality of brotherhood. So G-Man, before I end the stream, anything else you would like to add? Westside Kulik, anything else in less than 3 minutes, and we're going to sign off because I got some fire for your mind on tomorrow and also Monday. I got some fire for your mind. Hypersonic missile. The kosher clinician. So you guys got anything to add before I end the stream, man?
No, yeah. I enjoy it. I enjoy all you guys. Westside, I was wondering what the hell happened to you. And thank you. That's all I can say is thank you, man, because I definitely like being a student, even though I'm an older cat. I just like being a student to all of this. So I enjoy the fact that brothers are actually coming together. It's a beautiful thing, man. That part I do love. I really do, man. So.
No doubt. Westside Cooler, go ahead, brother.
Again, much respect to your accomplishments in life, this channel, what you do every day for the human spirit, not the man on spirit, but the human spirit. I'm gonna use your word.
The human spirit, right.
Yeah, Sandman there. And just keep doing what you're doing. I support you. I support your mission. I'll say it like that. And
right.
Much respect.
And on that note, to the sponsor of this stream, Corey Hager, how much will a man tolerate if sex was not on the table? And he's correct. And I would say, we probably wouldn't tolerate much at all, because after that, what else are they giving? And I think once men could get past the physical desires of their loins, they will no longer tolerate the things that they're tolerating. I share this with you, man. Never indignify yourself as a man. The more you love yourself as a man, the more you can supersede and rise above the ashes and become the exemplar, or what I call the God man, walking on earth as you are a walking epistle and a living example of the eternal God that's in heaven. So, guys, we're going to sign off. It's been a good stream. I'm drawing in on tomorrow and also Monday, as I'm going to drop some fire for your mind, guys. It's been a good one. We're about to sign off. Salute to the people. Salute to the chat. And guys, we are signing off. So I appreciate it, guys. Let me run this commercial real quick. This commercial about mental health, because we need to get that taken care of. Hold tight. All right.
Are you a victim of brokenness and despair? A broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. Many times, many of you young men that are listening come from homes that are very toxic and very dysfunctional. And because of that, many of you have deferred your power in many ways, to the point it's led over into your social life, and many times led over into your relationships. If you guys are dealing with mental health pathologies, conscious and unconscious, come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. It's important that you deal with your mental health in order to be a better person for yourself, your loved ones, and also your community. But because mental health is often stigmatized, many of you often suffer in silence. Don't be a victim in silence. And see me once again at kosherclinician@gmail.com. And I need you guys to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. And male mental health is one of those elements that's paramount to the functioning of a man. Be well.
In the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling. Let's kiss and make up. I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day. I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down to ride, you weren't down to ride. Caught switching, you were picking sides. Don't blink, caught slipping like a slip and slide. I was shooting dice till I got a nosebleed. Money on the floor, can't get cold feet. Took an L, should've put it in the offering. Lord, forgive me for my sins, don't know of me. Scary thoughts, I got scary thoughts. Lost control, now I'm taking charge. Breaking bills, friends breaking off. You could be the youngest, I'm the dawn. Kiss the ring, nah. In the scene like GOT. Stay awake, don't sleep. Like Jon Snow, get R.I.P. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. Just me, myself, and I'm my favorite threesome. The cars I drive by, I never lease them. They say if you can't beat them, then you join them. That's no option, I don't join, I always beat them. I was fake, it had to find me. Now I'm on beat, skating like I'm grinding. L hit me, said it's all about the timing. If you want the vision, get to spinning. My mama told me trust in God, it's never limits. Now I'm on the scoreboard, running up the digits. I put in work, you know I'm up to get it. Early bird gets the worm and the Yankee fitted. Like whoa, bags under my eyes and you know. Won't complain, I'm tired, I'm on go. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. I was starving, now I'm eating till my belly full. From up north, we get cold, you need a heavy coat. Scared to end up on a shirt before it's centerfold. Devil on my back, target on me, deli too. Play the keys, don't tweet. It's not peace, don't speak. 24, no sleep. This is real, no tweet. My bros for life, can't break this link. Family on my side, baby stay around me. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. Want that combo, better know you'll need a check from me. Can pay to play, the sun still won't get a cent from me. I mix the fit up with the side like it's a remedy. I mix it up inside the pot, watch it drip while it drop. Time to take it to the top. Chips all in the middle like it fall, no I won't flop. We gon' pop like a soda can top. To me this is nothing, call my bluff and I won't stop when I flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I want the checks, yeah. I don't want the second, I want best. I want best, yeah. By any means, that's a triple threat. A triple threat. Yeah, this is getting bigger, I might flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I press the button and the doors go up. Whoa, I hit record a drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets. When I'm performing, never boring, now you can't afford it. Champagne Perrier, Finnish friends on my face. Looking like I'm from the deep, these no Cartiers. Pockets deep, 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 bro. I can make it in my seat, bro. Do you, I'm doing me, bro. Making noise, use a beat, bro. Whoa, I press the button and the doors go off like, whoa. That money clip was not a new, now looks like, whoa. Upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Neighborhood on the scene, neighborhood on the strip. Neighborhood be the name, neighborhood no crib. Neighborhood that's me, neighborhood that's Nick. Neighborhood do the dance, neighborhood do the deal. Okay, thought I'd never make it like no way. I'm the real deal, no role play. My days off, that's no days. No, I hustle hard, young rose. E be the shooter, that's cold case. Those on the deals, that's brose. Got no pay, don't no say. Okay, this the news, tell them read it. Been the one since the fetus. Don't sleep on me, Tempur-Pedic. That's a no, no, no. Spend the dope for no reason. Got a ball head, Mr. Cleaner. Heard the big bags overseas, then we gon' go, go, go. Whoa, I press the button and the doors go off like, whoa. That money clip was not a new, now looks like, whoa. Upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like, whoa, 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 whoa. I press the button and the doors go off like, whoa. That money clip was not a new, now looks like, whoa. Upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like, whoa, 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 whoa. They know, they know, they know, they know, they know, they know, yeah, they know, 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 yeah, they know. Tunnel vision when I hit the holly. Working on that cause my mind is on an island. Told my babies I'll be homeless, so don't stay up. Breaks my heart to see them sad, so I won't wait up. Need it all that's mine, I need it now. I lost my patience the same week I lost my smile. My baby pressed me, said I'm acting like a child. I took some L's, can lie, that really brought me down. I'm so antisocial, but I guess it's type selective. Swear I'll make a change, but for now I just can't help it. Only trusting God in these scars that I've been dealt with. I'ma do my job, time to grind, time to know. They know, 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 they know. Pedal to the metal, they know. Gone and I won't let up, they know. I'm not so I'm fed up, they know. Say it for the record, they know. They know, they know, they know, yeah, they know. Pedal to the metal, they know. I'm not so I'm fed up, they know. Why you never sign? You sign when you go live. Stuck inside that bubble, never ever go outside. You don't know you know computers, you're a tech guy. Back against a wall, you gon' fall or you gon' ride. I feel the pressure, foot to the pedal. My dogs, they fed up, my squad won't let up. Those sneakers CDG, hot on step on. My money yoga, the weight is stretch on. I change locations to change the weather. Know when that rain come, got my umbrella. And when my day come, my name gon' stay up. Yeah, I know, I know, I know.